It is round number 9 here at the AMSOIL Grand National Cross Country Series presented by Specialized.
Yeah.
Alicia, we are here in Dunkard, Pennsylvania at the VP Racing Fuels High Voltage GNCC. Brand new track, brand new facility for GNCC. Looks like it's a pretty cool place.
It's absolutely beautiful. I mean, the views are spectacular. One cool thing about this place is we actually race in both West Virginia and Pennsylvania. We're right on the Mason-Dixon line. So that's pretty cool to be in 2 states, 1 racetrack.
Yeah, definitely a cool feature. Probably going to be a track that we come back for many years to come, if I had to imagine. Let's talk about racing a little bit. What happened at Snowshoe 2 weekends ago? I know we had Ricky Russell in the lead for a couple laps early on.
Yeah, definitely. He was putting in a heck of a race. His actually only overall win was at Snowshoe a couple years ago. But Caleb and Stu were knocking on his door, and they had an epic race going on and moved right to the front spot.
They definitely did. Caleb and Stuart battled all the way, literally to the finish line. Caleb Russell came out on top. Stuart Baylor right there in second.
It was really impressive to watch.
Man, it was a really, really good race. And then in Xc2, we had Ben Kelly getting his 9th win in a row for the year. He is still undefeated.
That's super impressive. I know the time is coming that he's going to be on that overall podium, overall spot.
Yes. Yeah, he's that first place overall spot is definitely on its way. Second place, we had Craig DeLong, a normal Xc2 podium finisher. Still yet to grab that win, but in third place, we had first-time Xc2 podium finisher, Mr. Liam Draper.
Oh, it's awesome to see Liam up on the podium. He's been shooting for that place for quite a while.
Yeah, and he's been so close so many times, but he finally closed the deal there at Snowshoe.
And in our Xc3, we had Cody Barnes come out on the top spot again.
Yeah, no, that's that class has been a really good battle. I know 2 weeks before Snowshoe, it was Nick Davis who came out of retirement and got the win. Cody Barnes back up on top in Snowshoe. Jesse Ansley in the number 2 spot. It's just that class is just made for some really, really good racing. Now, another thing we want to talk about is some points. Caleb Russell, similar to yesterday, Walker Fowler, has been the more dominant one than anybody. Caleb Russell with 225 points, a long ways back in second place. Thad Duvall, but I don't know that we can count him out just yet, although he's had some bad races that have set him back a little bit, but we still got 5 rounds, including today, left to go. But I think that does it for us up here. Let's head on down to Bolton for a little bit of a track description.
Thanks, guys, and welcome to the High Voltage GNCC and this week's Yamaha track description. This is uncharted territory for the GNCC crowd, and although we're right next door to the Mason-Dixon GNCC we'll race later this fall, this course is a lot different. There's some really fast field sections out here, and there's some really tight woods for the ATVs, which also means some medium speed woods for the bikes, and we're throwing in some tighter bike sections as well. It's going to be a beautiful course. There's great flowing woods. Like I said before, there's some tight woods, so there's a little bit of something for everyone out here. About the only thing we don't have is really deep mud. Actually, it's been dry all week. The only bit of rain we've got was just a few sprinkles, and it's going to make this track one of the best we've seen all year. That's this weekend's Yamaha track description. Back to you guys.
Yeah, it sure does. Looks like it's going to be a great first year at the High Voltage GNCC. Looks like an awesome track. RacerTV coverage continues down at the starting line with Mr. Rodney Tomlin.
Thanks a lot, guys. Down here on the starting line as we get set to roll here at this West Virginia, Bad Thad Duval. Rolling to the line today, third in points. Lane Michael. And that, ladies and gentlemen, your starting lineup for this wonderful high voltage GNCC, being all presented to you by your good friends and, of course, VP Racing Fuel. And we are in beautiful Dunkard, Pennsylvania. If you want to pinpoint it on the map, my friends, and tell your friends where you are or what you're watching and where it's from. But I'll tell you, we're literally right in the midst of basically the state line, floating right on it in West Virginia and Pennsylvania all at the same time, and looking at a beautiful sunshiny day, at least for the moment, with some puffy clouds off in the distance and maybe even some darkening clouds off in the distance as well. Had great weather yesterday leading up to the 2 o'clock race and the ATV Pro race, and about 30 minutes into it, the skies opened up and we went from an amazing racetrack and facility to a very challenging race day for a lot of folks. But since then, in the last 24 hours, a lot of sun, a lot of wind, and of course a lot of track trying out. We've had several hundred riders on the racetrack today itself. Talked to a few of those riders who pointed out in particular, wow, the track crew has done an amazing job of turning this facility around and turning it into a raceable surface. Those guys were out late last night, early this morning, actually literally dozing parts of the trail that were slick and hard to pass and making it traversable, readying it for today's racing action. And boy, did they do a great job, as Ricky Towery has informed these riders. Now we are down to less than 1 minute away from going racing here in Dunkard, Pennsylvania, at this high voltage GNCC. As we turn our attention to Ricky Towery now, our next order of business will be that blue flag. And there it is, my friends. Shut them down, shut them down, shut them down, shut them down. And as we get set to roll into this final race before the big summer break, I'm going to ask you, GNCC race fans, are you ready to go GNCC racing? Pretty good, pretty good. I was impressed yesterday, but I think I can be even more impressed today. So I'm going to ask us, as we stand here on this Pennsylvania-West Virginia state line, GNCC Racing Nation, are you ready to go GNCC Racing? 10 seconds. And row number 1, the Xc2 Pro, will be off and rolling at the VP Fuels High Voltage GNCC. $250 up for grabs in our Wiseco All Balls GBC Whole Shot Award. Also Hot Cams in on that one, and Caleb Russell grabbing the early lead. Rough and rowdy Ricky Russell back there in the number 2 spot. It's Thad Duvall in third as we open things up. Xc2 250 Pro Class, Craig DeLong, Ryder Lafferty, Austin Lee, Liam Draper, Philip Cheney, Mike Wachowski, Ben Parsons, Alex Teagar, Nevin Smith, Bryce Smith, Brewer Carley, Benjamin Kelly, Sam Evans, Zach Hayes, Hunter North, and Jonathan Johnson ready to roll in 10 seconds. A clean start as our Xc2 Pro Class rolls across the start line. It's the number 10 of Craig DeLong on the Coastal Racing Husqvarna with those Maxxis tires. Fmf Xc3 125 Pro Am Class. Coming up next, we got Joe Marsh, Chase Colville, Jesse Ansley, Jonathan McMillan, Jason Lipscomb, Nick Capert, and Cody Barnes. And we've got one rider down, it looks like, in turn 3. So he's up. He's taking a little nap there for just a second, but bounces right back up and searching for that machine. He's trying to get up and out of here under his own power now. Of course, we'll have some folks over there to help in just a second as we're getting ready to roll with the Fmf Xc3 125 Pro Am Class. A hot one here today. Again, safety of the utmost importance. Clearing the rider off the racetrack. He's up. He's standing up. Of course, going to sit down and think about it for a few moments, but looks like we're about ready to get a clear and safe zone there for this rider. And as soon as it has been deemed worthy, we will resume starting here at this high voltage GNCC. All attention turning to Ricky Tower as he lets him know. Here we go. 10 seconds. And the sweet sing of the 125s off and rolling in these 125 Pro-Am class. Jesse Ansley trying to position himself for the early lead. He does just that as he grabs the whole shot in this one. 258 class, Simon Johnson, Chase Hayes, Ryder LeBlanc, Brody Johnson, Matthew Davis, Michael Beeler, Keith Struckengost, Brendan Poling, Nathaniel Tasha, Trevor Getz, Jake Ross, Tyler Braniff, Josh Farrell, Cole Whitmer, Dakota DeVore, Paul Petra, and Tristan Landrum, and Brandon Higgins all ready to roll next. Less than 10 seconds to go as we look up and peer and see Ricky Tower in that first turn. Green flag waves, the 897 of Brandon Higgins. Good drive in the inside line of that first turn. Let's see if he can hang on to it into the second turn. No! It's going to be the 42 of Ryder LeBlanc from New Florence, Pennsylvania on MXTire.com. Bell helmet, Scott goggles back machine. Stealing the early lead away. Open A. Levi Keller, Jake Hines, Joshua Lee, James Murphy, Evan Earl, Jeremy Lanthier, R.J. Cook, Billy Schlag, Jacob Barnes, Dylan Carano, Kobe Beckert, and Brady Myers. 10 seconds. Open A off and rolling now. Wow, here we go. That was pretty sneaky there. 272, fist pump in the air. That is R.J. Cook from Thompson Station, Tennessee, on a Power Band Racing Fly Racing FMF backed ride. 200A class, Sean Meyer, Zachary Davidson, Noah Clark, Dominic Morris, Max Fernandez, Logan Kiddick, Elliott Key, and Dylan Simple. 10 seconds. The 200A off and rolling now. More of those sweet two-strokes singing up through that start line right now. It's the number 10 on the machine. On his helmet, it's 423. That's Dominic Morris from Newark Valley, New York on the Ithaca Recreation Sports Fly Racing Factory Connection backed ride. 4-stroke A lights class. Tyler Soriano, Travis Reynaud, Tanner Cowart, Russell Smith, Alex Luger, Joshua Guppy, Mitchell Owensby. 10 seconds. Johnny Monera, Sam Hinkle, Adam Parker, Nathan Rector, Cody Meeks, Ian Flynn, and Trevor Maley. And it's the 130 Travis Raynaud from Stafford, Missouri on a Yarborough Industries Marionville Power Sports Fly Racing back KTM grabbing the early lead as we get to the senior A40 plus class. Smiling Frank Messina, Shotgun Sean Remington, Frank Tussle, John Beaver, Gregory Richardson, 10 seconds. Josh Hackett, A.W. DeMott, Jeff Houston, and Jason Stickley. Smiling Frank getting a good start there, it looks like. Oh, and he's getting pushed out on the number 50. No, he will not, or will he? No, not be denied. Frank Messina going to grab that early lead on the number 50 from Campbell Hall, New York on a P27 Off-Road Trail Jesters Racing Tucker Rocky KTM. Junior AB 25 plus class coming up next. 10 seconds. Andrew Broggs, Andrew Matusik, Matt Bruffy, David Muchisco, Cole Robbins, Joseph McCarty, Jesse Kildo, and Landon Smith. Joseph McCarty from Mount Clair, West Virginia, jamming through the gears up through that start on the MCI Racing Outlaw Motorsports RG Motorsports Factory Connection back ride and grabbing the early lead in the process. That A30 plus class, Sam Forrester, Louis Oleon, Joshua Wyatt, Surly Amancio, Steve Lambruno, Tom Truxell, Matt Modick, Bill Zavindi, and Tara Conlon all the way from San Francisco, California. Glad to have you out here, buddy. 10 seconds. Tara telling me earlier that actually from around the Bridgeport area in West Virginia came back to visit the family and decided to go race in a big Northwest California rider, of course. And we got the 48 of Sam Forrester out of Elkton, Maryland on a Cherry Hill Cycle KTM grabbing the early lead in this one. Senior B40 plus class, Gene Swidwa, Leon Whitaker, Vinny Tomic, also Frank DeFeo, Igor Sordes, Adam Miller, Mike Horwath, Darren Darmos, and Scott Matheny in 10 seconds. Well, I got 744 Mike Horwath. And then I've got, yep, that's going to be it. He's out of Normalville in Pennsylvania on a PWT Racing Outlaw Motorsports 343 graphics back machine. Mike Horwath grabbing the early lead. Four-stroke B Lights Class, Alexander Patterson, Bryce Alkire, Hunter Cleveland, Tyler Palmer, Nolan Rankin, Ethan Schultz, Cole Henderson, and Corey Schaefer. 10 seconds. 408 Hunter Cleveland. Good jump off the line out of Air, New York on a Lane's Yamaha FCR suspension fly racing machine. Can he hold and maintain the lead on that one? He will do exactly that in the turn two now. As we go to the 250B class, Kyle Prismont, Garrick Orbester, Austin Hobatter, Philip Dagnes, Justin Brazo, Cody Palmer, Alan Nolting, Warren Friend, Dylan Gore, Bradley Chapman, Jesse Groves, and Austin Walls. 10 seconds. Come on, Matthew's dad. That's what this little feller standing beside me just now said. Did Matthew's dad get the whole shot? He's pretty sure he's going to get it. We'll see. 189, Garrick Orbester out of Stockbridge, Georgia on a Freedom Power Sports Flow Vision Hammer Nutrition backed Yamaha, grabbing the early lead. I'm not sure if that was his dad or not, but that guy, somebody's dad, I'm sure, got a whole shot. 200B class, Max Russ, Tanner Collins, Colby Dunham, Ezra Judd, and Patrick Murray ready to roll in 10 seconds. Green flag waves on this one. Tanner Collins looks in store, by the way, the 404 to win the national championship in this 200B class today. Basically, all he's got to do is finish. Let's see what it's going to be like at the finish as, wow, he does across the stripe first, but we got Max Rust, taking the early lead out of Iron Station, North Carolina on an FXR back machine. Vet V30 Plus, Larry Hopper, Ross Kennedy, Nick Plank, also Gary Bissang, Mike Swartz, Sam Bishop, Ernest Martin, William O'Brien, Zachary Ruffing, Adam Williams, Joshua Webb, and Chad Myers in 10 seconds. Well, let's see. Adam Williams, good. Oh, he got pinched off there in that first turn, so it looks like it's going to be the 405 of Mike Swartz from Windsor, Ohio, taking the early lead, going to the Open B class now. Matt Sorge, Matthew Harris, Peyton Hart, Isaac Cole, Junior Smith, Tyler Barr, Brendan Bishop, Gregory Tenney, Jared Miranda, Michael Davis, Colton Hawk, and Drew Norris. 10 seconds. And our final row of the afternoon off and rolling as we get it sorted out going into that first turn. Who's it going to be? 222, looks like Peyton Hart out of Stamping Ground, Kentucky on a Trigger Concepts Fly Racing Fmf back KTM. Well, that's going to do it. That's going to wrap up the start for this VP Fuels High Voltage GNCC. And, of course, with that, we've got about 3 hours worth of great racing. And then the summer break will take place after that. But what's going to happen between now and the beginning of summer break? I don't know. Stick around and find out for yourself. GNCC Live continues right after this.
Consistent clutch fuel is vital to effective starts or to confidently maneuver around obstacles on the trail. AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil was subjected to an extreme simulated start test. After 32 simulated race starts, AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil continued to deliver consistent clutch feel, and the clutch plates remained clean with no visible wear. The competitor's oil, however, allowed discoloration and significant wear after just 16 starts. AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil. Give your bike the protection it needs.
What is your passion? Hitting the perfect line, finding the perfect trail, routing the perfect adventure, or just living and breathing the moto life? Do you feel pride for a job well done after tackling a late night in the shop? Do you enjoy time spent with friends and family in the great outdoors? Spanning over 3 decades, one name has taken the lead for supplying the best powersport parts, accessories, and apparel to fuel your passion. One name that knows it goes beyond getting you the best prices, quickest shipping, or largest selection. One name that builds and innovates for our industry. One name that teaches, helps, and supports our fellow riders, racers, and organizations. We are Rocky Mountain ATV MC. We have transformed a team of moto enthusiasts into a powerful teaching team to ensure that you make the best purchasing decision with your hard-earned cash. We build communities with fellow riders to provide you with all you need to make a good decision. See customer photos, reviews, Q&As, and more while you're on our easy-to-use website. Need help fast? Live chat with our specialists, email, or drop us a line. Visit us today and experience the best in OEM and aftermarket parts, accessories, apparel, and industry-leading information. We offer lightning quick shipping, free on orders over $75, a huge inventory, free apparel exchanges both ways, and customer service that leaves all others behind. Experience one name that leads all others. Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready.
The action is just heating up, and we're just getting started. Stay with us, live action on RacerTV.com.
all-new Yamaha Wolverine X2. With a compact chassis perfect for exploring tight technical terrain. An ultra-quiet and smooth 850 class twin-cylinder engine. And next-level versatility with a 600-pound dumping cargo bed. No other side-by-side delivers this level of proven off-road performance. The all-new Wolverine X2 from Yamaha.
Born of family values and a homegrown work ethic, Chematic Gaskets seals your machine so you can focus on the finish line. Chematic Gaskets are the competitive standard for racers who demand the very best. Chematic Gaskets are constructed from superior materials designed to perform in the most demanding environment. Whether it's championships on the line or a day in the dirt with friends, professionals and enthusiasts depend on Chematic. Chematic Gaskets, sealing championships since 1989.
This RacerTV broadcast is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. Specialized Turbo e-bikes, it's you, only faster. And by Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready.
And welcome back to the VP Racing Fuels High Voltage GNCC here in Dunkard, Pennsylvania. We're getting a shot out about the 3-mile marker. Our leaders have already gone through, looking like the number plates we're seeing here are some B riders as these guys are working their way through. We've got a good section of fields here between the 2-mile marker and the 4-mile, actually about the 2 and the 5-mile marker, and then it head back into the woods. So your leaders in that Xc1 and Xc2 classes are already off into that next wood section. You can see there over in the distance, that's headed the other direction. That's about 1.5 miles from where we just saw those bikes in the foreground to where we see the ones in the background. There's a lot of fields, a lot of open area on this side, and there's a lot of opportunities for passing as well. We're going to see these guys mix it up through this shot. It's going to be an interesting shot because we're going to be able to follow them all the way through this field section. For those of you that have been tuned in and were able to see the starts, Caleb Russell grabbing the whole shot in the Xc1 class, and I believe Mike Witkowski grabbed the whole shot in the Xc2 class. I didn't actually see him cross the line, but he was ahead as they went to the first turn. So some of the usual fast starters. Here we can see some battling action happen right now with some of our B classes. These guys are inside out, and what a difference you will see if you were tuning in. If you joined us yesterday, what you saw was slime and rain and mud, and today what you're going to see is some dust flying. It's amazing how fast things have dried up here on top of this mountain, and the wind is whipping, as you can see by the flags in the background. Still a slick racing surface, though. This is old strip mine ground here, so not much topsoil. You've got clay with a little bit of rock mixed in, but mostly just a very, very hard-packed clay. At some point or another, I believe a lot of these meadows, a lot of these pastures have been used for cattle, and it's a very rough kind of moon-like pocked surface. So we'll take a look at the track as it lays out. We've got our Yamaha track map, and we'll break it down just how the track is today for this 1 p.m. bike race. 11.7 miles is what these guys will be traversing, and you can see that down there at the very bottom of the screen. You can see the bike only section that they will take off between the 5 and 6 mile marker. That is adding about a mile, a little over a mile actually. About 1.2 miles is what that'll be adding over there. A little bit of a disappointment there. You see in the far lower right corner of the screen, Warren's Ice Cream Shack. The temperatures are high today, but Warren's Ice Cream Shack is closed. I was a little disappointed to find that out yesterday or Friday when I was pedaling the track. Was really looking forward to getting myself a double scoop of butter pecan. But not going to happen today, but what we are going to have for you all day is racing action here on RacerTV.com. Tell all your friends to tune in because this is the last one before the summer break. It's going to be 9 weeks until we come back and race again at our next race in New York. But this is really, really shaping up to be a dynamic race day with excellent conditions. The sun is out, the sun is shining, and the temperatures are high. Definitely going to be a test of fitness today, as this one is going to run 180 minutes plus, and these guys are going to be whooped at the end of this. We'll be able to take a look at exactly how those whole shots got off. As we said, we have some replays of our Xc1 Pro Class as they took off the line just a few moments ago if you missed it. And we see around the outside, Caleb Russell. Ricky Russell tucked in behind him. It was a battle between Josh Strang, Ricky Russell, and Thad Duvall, all trying to get into that number 2 spot. You can see Andrew DeLong and Stu Baylor both trying to sneak around the inside there. And these guys were all tight racing. Grant Baylor shuffled to the back there, but you can see these guys were, everybody wanted to be into those woods first. Ricky Russell's been a whole shot artist the last couple of years, but today, Caleb Russell gets it done. Ricky Russell there in that second place spot, followed closely by Thad Duvall, Josh Strang, and Andrew DeLong were your top 5. Here is the Xc2 Pro Lights Class. Looked like Mike Wachowski on that 282 factory beta got a really good jump there. And you can see these guys there looking down. It looked like actually Ben Kelly was not really prepared there. He was kind of messing around with something down on his bike, which may attribute to his somewhat of a mid-pack start. Now he's a little more focused, and Ricky Tower with the green flag waving. Again, Wachowski like a rocket out of there on that factory beta machine to the inside. Craig DeLong actually getting there. I apologize. Craig DeLong looks like he was the first one to the corner. Mike Wachowski was able to square it up, and we'll see who actually did get to the line first. Looks like it was a dogfight, but DeLong got it done. So the Coastal Racing Husqvarna number 10 machine of Andrew DeLong actually grabbing the start. You can see Austin Lee, Liam Draper, and then well marred back in the middle of the pack there is the number 1 Trail Jesters KTM of Ben Kelly, the man who is so far perfect on the season. We did see a rider take a nasty tumble there, actually laid on the ground for a few moments, but ultimately was able to get up, and I don't know if he rejoined the race, but was able to leave the first turn or second turn under his own power, so definitely good to see that. Again, top 3 there were Austin Lee in third, 282 of Wachowski in second, and leading the way was Craig DeLong. You can see these nice big round hay bales we got here. These are our course markers this weekend, and all the riders have been warned that they absolutely need to stay inside of those hay bales because so much of the course is that way. Looking at your top 10, it says ATV points there, but actually bike points, Caleb Russell leading the way with 225 points. Thad Duvall, a very disappointing snowshoe round for him, unable to finish with the DNF, dropping a massive amount of points to Caleb Russell. That has been a tough battle all season between those guys. Only 18 points separating them when they went into snowshoe. Caleb Russell leaves with 48 points. A huge blow to Thad Duvall and that Rockstar Racing Husqvarna team, but you know they're going to be fighting today and trying to chip away at any points they can to get that gap down before summer break. So 48 points. Stu Baylor there solidly in third, only 11 points behind Duvall. So a good weekend for Baylor. Trevor Bollinger obviously not racing the race last weekend, or 2 weekends ago at Snowshoe, unfortunately dropping some points there in that 4th place spot. Josh Strang rounding out the top 5. Josh Toth, who's also out with injury, has that broken femur. And then Andrew DeLong in 7th, Jordan Ashburn, Ricky Russell, and Corey Buttrick rounding out the top 10 in that XC1 Pro class. This is where we'll be seeing our leaders next. Looks as though that might be the Fmf PowerPoint. Kind of hard to tell there with that FMF banner. Looks like that might be the case. If that is the case, it's, we got some action. They're pointing lines, and there he is, the number 1 FMF factory KTM of Caleb Russell in the lead. Thad Duvall second. Jordan Ashburn has worked his way up into that 3rd place spot, followed by Stu Baylor, Ricky Russell, Josh Strang, Lane Michael, Corey Buttrick, and Andrew DeLong as they come through that shot there at the FMF PowerPoint. Now this camera shot doesn't do it justice, but that's a pretty steep and quite off-camber hill climb that is absolutely full of roots. Now look at this, folks. Ben Kelly has already made his way to the lead, and he is well within that 1 minute gap that we know he has on corrected time. So we saw him last weekend get to ride with those guys, or 2 weekends ago. He was 3rd overall. Andrew DeLong taking a little bit different line there, out and around. I'm not sure that was the best line. I think he might have missed the actual PowerPoint portion of it. To the right there, where we're seeing those guys up, that is the PowerPoint climb. Where Andrew DeLong came up is the straight up kind of go around, I guess you would call it. That was Mike Wachowski, 3rd place in XC2 that just went by our camera shot there. And now here is, looks to be Ryder Lafferty and Liam Draper, the number 44 and 198 machines. We can actually hear our leaders working their way through to the finish line at the moment. Don't know if we'll be able to get that on camera, but we're watching the PowerPoint shot here, and we can hear those guys kind of in the final chicanes as they head for the finish line. Looks like Caleb still leading, Thad Duvall still second, and Jordan Ashburn still third. There is, looks like Evan Smith, that was Zach Hayes there, and in front of them was Austin Lee. So Austin Lee really dropping off in that first lap. He was third as they had gone into the second turn and into the woods there, and now here are our leaders. They're out in the finish line chicanes. We can see off in the distance there, those guys are headed up into the woods. Those are the leaders in the XC1 class. What we're looking at here is about mid-pack in that XC2 class. In fact, I believe...
Yes, no doubt about it, but I'm still hung up on stuffing envelopes. I like that. Yeah, and speaking of the way it was, that's the way it was left yesterday after that stuffing envelope there in those last turns for that ATV race. And wow, I gotta hand it to the track crew. I literally had a couple guys. One guy come up and said, "I don't know if you guys ever get compliments or whether people are always complaining or whatever the case may be. I don't know how many people you had out working, but thank you."
Yeah.
Thank you, and tell whoever did it thank you, because those guys were up really, really early this morning. They let everything kind of set overnight, and they got up early, and they went out and they started working on that trail with dozers and trying to get that slick surface off of there. I mean, it was basically intraversable at one point. I mean, it would have tacked up eventually, but to give the riders this morning and this afternoon the best race possible, the track crew went out and did an amazing job, so our hats off to them.
And there we see our leaders on screen. It does not look like we've seen any change in the top 5, these guys coming by. There is, again, Buttrick, and there is DeLong. So basically looks like our top 10 still pretty much wheel to wheel all the way back through DeLong there. And look at this, folks. In the overall, the top 3 in XC2 are the top 3 overall. Ben Kelly, Craig DeLong, Mike Witkowski are your top 3. Rodney, we have seen the XC2 leader leading on corrected time this year a number of times with Ben Kelly, but we have never seen the top 3 not physically, but actually taking up the top 3 positions on corrected time. I do not believe we have ever seen that in the history of Everdeen.
I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about that, Johnny. I don't know that there's ever been a time period that I've ever seen anything like that in ATV or motorcycle side of GNCC racing, where all 3 of the top 3 were from the second row starts there. So that's pretty interesting. It's got to make you wonder, just how slow did those guys go on that first lap, just trying to pick and choose lines through there to try to sort it out, and how aggressive was that front group of the XC2 guys, man. I mean, they must be waging their own war, and that's kind of like taking them out front of everyone, it looks like.
Well, I think there's 2 things at play there, Rodney. I think if you look at the track conditions here today, most of the track, obviously the youth race and the morning race has run in, the 10 a.m. race running all but about a mile of what this afternoon race has run. So the lines are established, the dirt is tacked up, and the traction is proving to be pretty good in most places. Now, there is some unsure surfaces around this track where it definitely does get slick, but by and large it's tacked up nicely. So I think the XC1 class, like you said, playing it a little bit cautious, making sure they hit their lines and not really sprinting yet at this point. The XC2 class really sprinting, and I think the reason for that, probably Ben Kelly getting that mid-pack start, he had to come through those guys, and what they did is they latched on, tried to hang on to him. He's trying to get away, so the rabbit's trying to get away, but the tortoise has got a little bite into his rear end, and trying to hang on. So those guys are dragging each other up towards that XC1 class.
Well, taking a look at the times elapsed times after adjustments, 25 minutes.
Driving to be better. The all-new from the ground up 2019 Yamaha Yz250f is available at LoJack Cycle Sales, alongside the all-new Yz250f and Yz250f, and refined Yz250f. So stop by LoJack Cycle Sales today in Tarentum, Pennsylvania, and visit our online inventory at www.lojacks.com. Yamaha YZs. It's why we ride. We are American motorcyclists. We are members of the American Motorcyclist Association. Racers, fans, and crew. We come together for this sport we love, to race together, to grow together. We start young and not so young. We race motorcycles and ATVs. We become friends, we become family. We compete for weekend bragging rights and national championships. We make memories on the toughest off-road courses in the country and on the best motocross tracks in the world. Some of us aspire to the speed and poise of road racing or the fierce competitiveness of American flat track, and we honor our greatest champions in the AMA Motorcycle Hall of Fame. Through it all, we cheer, we win, and we lose. We are racing. We are the AMA. Race with us. Be part of the greatest sport in the world. Be an American motorcyclist. Join us today at www.amajoin.com www.ymahawolverine.com/join-now.
And welcome back to GNCC Live. Rodney Tomlin along with Johnny Gallagher and my old buddy Nick Rupert from back in Wellston, Ohio, checking in with 3 big plates of food right now. Gotta love that right there.
He might be my favorite person on the property at the moment.
An hour and 11, working on an hour and 12 minutes now into this race. Thad Duval still leading Caleb Russell. We saw Jordan Ashburn come through. We saw Josh Strain come through this shot just a few moments ago, Johnny.
Top 4 starting to check out.
Yes, they are. And that's, kind of what we anticipated there on lap 2, but it took a lap longer than I expected, but they're starting to stretch their legs, it looks like.
There we see Stu Baylor. He has passed his way back around the number 1 of Ben Kelly. So Kelly is still there. There is Kelly right there on screen. That is your leader in that in that Xc2 Pro Lights. Look at this, DeLong right back to the rear wheel of Kelly. We just saw DeLong upside down and sideways, and now he is back to the rear wheel. How in the world did Craig DeLong make up that time like that?
I don't know, but I'll tell you what, we saw him go down out there, like you said, and it's just a man on a mission. He's here. He's in his comfort zone. You talked about things. I know, right? It looks good. Talked about, Craig, coming into the season and the hype and stuff that surrounded him. Maybe it wasn't just hype. Maybe the hype was true. Maybe everything that everyone was talking is just exactly. And we're finally starting to see that glimpse of what everyone else saw preseason.
Absolutely. He is absolutely a man on a mission at the moment. We saw he had gotten the whole shot. He was the early leader. Ben Kelly was able to slowly work away, take the lead away, and actually had pulled out a gap. The first time we saw those guys on screen, we didn't keep tabs on it, but it looked like Ben Kelly had well over 15 seconds on Craig DeLong. Craig DeLong was in that number 2 spot, and there we see we're getting this is our FMF PowerPoint at mile 9.5. Not quite here yet, but we're seeing these guys just about any moment. We'll see that gentleman there in the foreground. We're waiting on the leaders. We'll see him start tapping that stick, and there is the 989 of Thad Duval coming through there, passing up there at 13:29. He breaks into the open section. He is absolutely flying. I can't even believe how fast he went through that section.
I'm looking at at least 15 seconds back to Caleb Russell right now. Where are we at?
We're at 15 seconds right now, 16, probably about 17 or 18 seconds is what it was. So again, we know that Caleb not wanting to let him get away. Josh Strang, a little bit different line up through there. The number 114 machine, and look at this, still right there, Jordan Ashburn, the 127 machine. I'll tell you what, the Monster Energy Babbitt's Online Kawasaki guys are on it today, and I bet you Fred Andrews and Joey Maurer are absolutely loving it over there in that tent, and they're going to keep reeling those guys in, saying, hey guys, podiums are good, but let's go get us a Thad Duval and get us a win.
I'll tell you what, it looks like that's exactly what they're trying to lay chase to right now. The aggression that both those Cowie boys are riding with, and the smoothness. I mean, both riders look to really be clicking today with the machines, with the elements, with the track. I mean, everything is falling right into place.
Speaking of clicking, the 523 machine of Lane Michael looks like he may have taken over that 5th place spot from Grant Baylor. We'll have to wait and see when they check in, but what a solid ride that would be. He's worked his way around Ricky Russell. There is Andrew DeLong. He has worked his way around those guys, and he is up, and I believe, into that 5th place spot. A heck of a return for him. We know he's been training down in Florida with Justin Barsha and I was going to say Scott Plessinger. Obviously not Scott Plessinger, his son. And there is Stu Baylor as he is now, we're waiting. There is Ben Kelly, the number 1 Trail Jesters KTM, hot on his heel, the number 10 of Craig DeLong. Wow, look at that. DeLong's still right there. I just can't believe, as dominant as Ben Kelly has been throughout this 2019 season, it seems like Craig DeLong has dug his heels in and said, not today, boy. You're not getting away.
Pretty impressive what these guys are doing here on this day. You know, we think about this race being a rescheduled race, and traditionally we'd be done after snowshoe, and that one always leaving those explanation points and stuff. But I tell you, some of those guys that didn't fare so well, or maybe did okay and wanted to come out and do even better, may have a better opportunity to leave an explanation point and heading into that summer break now.
And there we go, and there is the 523 machine of Lane Michael. As we refresh our scoring, we see that I believe he is into that number 5 spot, and he is 5th place physically. We'll have to wait and see how that holds up. I think we might see a new overall leader. I believe that Thad Duval has done enough to get himself that 9/10 of a second that he needed to wrestle the overall lead away from Ben Kelly on corrected time, the leader of our Xc2 Pro Lights class.
The last time around, Thad turned a 24:23, actually faster, I believe, than the lap before. Caleb Russell, a 23:34. The official gap there, 17.7 seconds, right in that 18-second range that we were talking about just leading into the finish.
Rodney, did we lose Stu Baylor, or did he check in?
Let's see. We got Duvall, we got Russell, we got Strang, we got Ashburn, and we got Ben Kelly checking in with 3 laps complete now. Craig DeLong with it, 3 laps complete.
We lost Stu Baylor. Stu Baylor was ahead of those guys at the last camera shot at the FMF PowerPoint, which is less than a mile from here to the finish. We have lost Stu Baylor. Somewhere between the FMF PowerPoint at the 9.5 and here at the...
well, there he is. He's in now right behind Andrew DeLong, about 16 seconds behind DeLong right now. Stu Baylor checks in the number 11 spot. Grant Baylor, by the way, in the 8th place position up there, only 1.3 seconds behind Lane Michael. Still good battle going on for that one.
Gotcha. Well, that's a thing. At least he did make it through. We thought we missed him there, but he must have pulled out a little bit of a gap on Ben Kelly because he was out of the camera shot.
Yeah, and by the way, Ben Kelly, 5th place overall now.
The XC1 class has stepped it up this lap, boys.
Yes, they have. So let's take a look at the lap times just to give you an idea. 24:23 for Duvall. As we told you, 24:34 for Caleb Russell. Josh Strang also at 24:34. 24:42 there for Jordan Ashburn. Ben Kelly, a 25:18. Now, not taking anything away from Ben, those have been 2 very consistent laps that we have seen Ben Kelly running in almost identical lap times. So talk about putting down the lap times. That's exactly what he has done. He hasn't wavered on his pace any whatsoever. Just like you said, though, Johnny, the boys up front really starting to pick it up quite a bit, and that was evident by seeing how they physically stretched it out from the rest of the pack there in the XC1 class.
And that's really what we've seen throughout the course of this season, Rodney. There we saw, it was Ricky Russell and Andrew DeLong coming by there, and here is Stu Baylor. So it's not that Baylor dropped off. He has actually picked it up, and he is reeling in the riders in front of him. That would be the 7th and 8th place riders. Baylor in that 9th place physically in that XC1 Pro class. He has pulled away now from Ben Kelly. There is Kelly. And the next bike we should see by will be the Coastal Racing Husqvarna of Craig DeLong, and there he is. I tell you what, Craig DeLong looks comfortable.
He looks very comfortable, and he looks, again, like he's having fun, and that's what it is. I think, maybe that's where the comfort zone is, and when he's looking like he's having fun, he's obviously having fun. He's going very fast and obviously very aggressive, wanting to leave here with a big win, and what would that mean? How big and monumental would that be to see what Ben Kelly has been able to accomplish through these first 8 rounds of racing, and then to leave with the summer break? Not only do you beat him, but you chase him down, you run with him all day long, beat him, and then leave him with that to think about until we go into round number 10.
Absolutely. That's a statement win right there. That's exactly what that would be, Rodney. Making a statement right now, the 989 machine. Here he is, folks. Thad Duvall, this awesome drone shot we've got from our Yamaha Live drone. Look at this guy. He is just out. Rodney, what do they say? The ride that
dreams are made of.
He's out there, and right now he's a daydreaming kid saying, man, I used to dream about winning these things. I've won a lot of them, and today I want to win another one. And again, another statement win right now is what Thad Duvall is looking for. A heartbreaker of a finish at Snowshoe. An absolutely huge, huge blow to his championship hopes. 18 points behind coming into Snowshoe. 48 points is the gap coming into today.
Wow.
But if you're Thad Duvall, if you're that Rockstar Husky team, the only thing you can do is max points every weekend if you want to battle for that championship. Taking away 30 points today is the first step in getting himself back into that championship hunt.
Most certainly. And just to give you a heads up, looks like we're on target for a 7-lap race for these guys here today as we roll through now near the halfway point, 3 laps in, on lap number 4 now. So basically working the halfway point of this race here in the high voltage GNCC. Duvall, Caleb Russell, Josh Strang, 1, 2, and 3. Jordan Ashburn in 4th place position. And physically 5th would be Lane Michael on the racetrack. Thad Duvall in the pits now, it looks like, Johnny Gallagher.
Water down the back. It's a hot day. No goggles, it didn't look like, but he got fuel, and he is out, and he is pinned. And here's the thing, Rodney. Looking at live scoring, 17.7 seconds is the gap back to Caleb Russell. 17.7 seconds, and we're talking about how Thad Duvall has absolutely pulled away and decimated the field at this point. That's really a testament to how close the racing has been throughout 2019, and for that matter, the last 3 or 4 years. We're accustomed to seeing these guys separated by inches, not seconds. So 17.7 seconds is the gap. We're already starting to color this one as Thad Duvall walking away, and we're looking at less than a 20-second deficit back to the number 2 rider. There he is, Caleb Russell. He is in that second place spot. Also is in VP Fuels Pro Row. Similar pit stop. We know what happened without even seeing it because as he was riding away, we could see the water dripping off of his seat from where they had poured cold water down his back, trying to cool these riders down. And here's something else that's happened, Rodney. He has opened up a gap now over, that is Josh Strang there right behind him, but they have opened up a gap over Jordan Ashburn in that number 4 spot.
There you go. It looked like I might have seen one of the Cowie guys going into the pit stop himself there. Maybe that might have been Jordan Ashburn a little longer in there than maybe what it took Josh. But nonetheless, back out front on our Yamaha live drone footage, and that is Thad Duvall carving lines here at Warren Lilly's pad, as we like to call it, at Dunkard, Pennsylvania, in this high-voltage GNCC.
There on the left is Warren's Ice Cream Shop, and I want to know why it's not open. I've been hearing about it. It's 90 degrees. It's a great day for ice cream. Somebody better get me some butter pecan. There is Caleb Russell right there. There is Caleb Russell. Right there, the second rider we see in our shot. And beyond that, we should be seeing Josh Strang in the number 4 spot. There we see that signature number 1 on that machine, Caleb Russell. Strang should be the next rider. We see the 114 Babbitt's Monster Energy Kawasaki. Not quite in the shot yet, but there is your number 2 rider.
So what do you think instructions were to Caleb Russell coming into this day? Where you think that they talked about the scenario with that and not to push the envelope so much?
I don't really have any inside information on that one, but I've been around that program and I've been around Caleb enough to know that they don't really give him a lot of information because they know he doesn't really listen to it. He's a strong-headed individual that has his own plan coming into the weekend. I mean, I'm certain that there's discussions within the team, within the mechanics and the teams, the support team, as what kind of information to make sure Caleb has throughout the race. But as far as a game plan coming in, I don't believe Auntie Collinen really. He kind of lets Caleb do his thing, it seems. He's figured out a way to make it work for him over the years, obviously with the number of race wins and championships that he has amassed. But I think Caleb, well aware after that snowshoe GNCC of exactly what his points lead was. And although I know his plans coming into the weekend were to try and stretch that out, if that opportunity isn't presenting itself and Thad Duvall is kind of setting a standard that Caleb doesn't feel comfortable chasing after, I think he's well aware that 48 points is what the gap is right now with 5 rounds remaining.
Well, an hour and now, 24 minutes into this race, Johnny. And again, we've seen Benjamin Kelly, Craig DeLong, and who was it in that third place position there on that first lap, just blowing us away.
Mike Witkowski.
Mike Witkowski, top 3 from the Xc2 class, leading the overall. Then we saw that a couple of those guys dropping out of the top 3, but Ben Kelly was out there. But after 2, he's back there in that number 5 spot. And again, 3 seconds is all that separated he and Craig DeLong. I hate to keep going back there and harping on this, but
this is news. This is big news.
This is big news, and this is where the real heated race is on the track right now. I mean, we still have one with Josh Strang and Ashburn and trying to catch up to Caleb Russell right now. But, I mean, this is big news as far as that Xc2 class is concerned because you've got a rider that's looking at, a perfect season so far in that Xc2 class. And if you've got a rider that can come down, like we said, this is going to shake things up and make things very exciting heading into the last part of the season.
Absolutely. And to my knowledge, it may seem a little early to start talking about that. Obviously, last year's champion, Ben Kelly, winning a lot of races. There is Thad Duvall on screen, still leading out there at the 6-mile marker, hard on the throttle and doing everything he can do to continue to stretch that gap out. Last we knew, 17.7 seconds was the gap over the number 2 rider of Caleb Russell. But, with Ben Kelly, the pressure's starting to mount maybe a little bit there. People starting to talk about that, starting to talk about the potential of a perfect season. It's never been done, to my knowledge, in Xc2 on the bike side. It has been done on the ATV side in Xc2, but never on the bike side. So, that's a little bit of a feather in his cap that he's won 9 straight. As to my knowledge, no one's ever even won 9 straight in the Xc2 class since that class's inception. Our history buffs might be able to debunk that, but I'm pretty certain that 8 straight is what Ben Kelly has up until this point, and that is very possibly a win record in that Xc2 class for the bike side of things. We're looking here. We did see Thad Duvall work his way through. I don't think we have seen Caleb Russell just yet. We're waiting on Caleb Russell, Josh Strang, Jordan Ashburn. That is your battle at the moment over the number 2 spot, with Caleb Russell leading the point position on that. There he is. That is Caleb Russell making the right, going through the gate there. The drone is starting to zoom in on him a little bit, coming up to this right-hand corner. Caleb Russell, the number 1 Fmf KTM. Josh Strang, the 114 Babbitt's Monster Energy Kawasaki in the number 3 spot. And I tell you what, we need to make a little bit more hype out of this guy. He had a serious struggle at Snowshoe. Don't know what the issue was, didn't ever hear, but I believe finishing outside the top 20 overall, which for a rider of his caliber, he has won championships, he has won many, many races. That is not where we expect to see the freight train riding. Right here is where we expect to see him battling for podiums, battling for wins, and he is doing just that at the moment. So a great day for him.
It is. It most certainly is. And, the interesting thing, you talk to Josh and, you get super excited. You feel the excitement in the air, his anticipation and what he's hoping for. And you really know that Josh is on to something over there. And unfortunately, like I say, he's not, I don't think, ridden up to what he feels is his true and full potential here in 2019. But what has been so good is after that event, and knowing that he had plans to be back home in Australia at this particular time and having to make those changes and stuff, and he's still here, and he comes back after that, I'm sure it was a heartbreaking defeat there for himself personally at Snowshoe Mountain. To be able to come back out here with this kind of aggression and this kind of intensity, it's a great. I think it's a great show of heart and desire there for him. To be honest with you,
absolutely, Rodney. I couldn't agree more. And again, this weekend was a reschedule. This round was supposed to actually take place back at the beginning of the year, and so these guys just a lot of people had a lot of thoughts coming into this weekend, and I think we actually got. Some of the riders' thoughts on exactly what they felt about this reschedule and the weekend that it was being a holiday weekend and all coming into this weekend.
This week we have the 4th of July, and then this weekend kind of the 4th of July thing too theme. But just same old. Worked hard. I had some company this week. There was 5 or 6 of us riding at my house since it's close, and just enjoyed the day a little bit. Did some cycling and hung out in the pool and do fireworks. It's tradition, so just not much change, just kind of had a little bit of fun at the end of the day.
Well, we thought that he was going to talk about their kind of feelings coming into this weekend, but for those that follow on social media, Josh Strang was absolutely devastated. He had a trip planned back to Australia prior to the reschedule of this event. Soon after, making those travel plans, he found out that obviously we were going to be racing this weekend. But what better way to make missing a family vacation in Australia, where he's from, worthwhile than coming out here, finishing on the podium, or potentially, certainly at this point, a win, not by any stretch off the table for Josh Strang today.
Right, and riding like he would want that win as well. Time will obviously tell. And speaking of a time, we are now about an hour and 30 minutes in this race, so the halfway point of this race, kind of officially halfway through lap number 4 of what we are looking and appears going to be a 7-lap race now, Johnny.
Yeah, 7 laps is what this one's going to go. We have 3 laps complete, and they're out on 4, so working out perfect. There is Josh Strang, rider we were just talking about, and the rider right in front of him, just inches, just bike lengths in front of him, Caleb Russell. So it appears they have now shaken loose the 127 of Jordan Ashburn. That may have been him that just went by there. A lot of green I saw. I think that may have been him. But he was right in tow with those guys for the last couple of laps as they're now working on lap number 4. Look at this. Lane Michael. Is that? No, that can't be Lane. Okay, I saw the FXR gear and I got all excited. Now I have called every rider on the track Lane Michael. At Snowshoe, I was calling Evan Smith Lane Michael, and now we have a lapped rider That FXR gear, every time I see it, I assume it's Lane. So I guess that's not the case. But Jordan Ashburn, again, a rider that was very much in the battle for that number 2 spot just a lap ago. Now back in the 4th place spot. There we see Grant Baylor. So I don't think that was Lane Michael, but Lane Michael was ahead of Grant Baylor prior to that. So it is possible. We're going to wait and we'll see here, so that we think our 5th place rider has gone by there at this is out about the 7.5 mile marker. Soon after this, they worked their way back into another woods section. There was Lane. Recognized him that time. So Grant Baylor has gotten back around. So Lane momentarily up into that 5th place spot. There is Ricky Russell, the 212 Ampro Yamaha, a rider that was on the XC1 podium at Snowshoe in that 3rd place spot. Led much of that race. And wow, that was a heck of a ride for Ricky. Looked like he might just make off with a win there, and then ultimately succumbing to some of the riders behind him and ending up in the 4th place, I believe, overall. There was Ben Kelly. Now I wonder if that was Grant Baylor, or if that may have in fact been Stu Baylor that had worked his way up, because we know he was ahead of Ben Kelly. So we'll wait and we'll see when those guys check in here and scoring in this is mile marker number 6. So we've got about 5 miles until we see these guys back at our scoring chicane, and we get some real-time information on exactly what the gaps are throughout the top 10.
Well, we've been talking a lot about Ben Kelly and Craig DeLong, and the battle is starting to ensue up there in the Xc2 250 Pro Class. One thing that we haven't really been paying a lot of attention to, what's been going on behind them as of the last lap and a half or so. I know we had talked about Mike Wachowski being back there and losing some time. Well, it looks like he's lost a few positions now. So Mike Wachowski has dropped off to the number 5 spot on board the Beta out of North Liberty, Indiana. Ryder Lafferty, the 44 out of Dorothy, New Jersey, though, has taken over the 3rd spot, about 2 minutes and 6 seconds behind Craig DeLong. Now, Liam Draper, another rider just off the podium, 1.9 seconds now as he's positioning himself on the 198 KTM out of New Zealand. So good to see. And there's another strong and improved ride by Liam Draper. We'd made mention of it there at Snowshoe that we hadn't really seen things really start to click yet for Liam. It seemed like when we thought they were, they never did quite always fit everything into the right pattern. So we never did, I don't think, and still haven't seen the full potential of Liam Draper, but we're starting to get glimpses of it. We saw it at Snowshoe, and this right here might be another glimpse of it today here on the Pennsylvania-West Virginia line.
Yeah, like you mentioned, Rodney, I mean, Liam has been so many times, dating back to round 1 or 2, he was in a position where we thought he was going to be on the podium late in the race, and then it seemed like he would always come out on the losing end of a torrid battle and end up in that 4th, 5th, 6th place spot. Snowshoe, he was able to hang on to that. He was able to go ahead and he was able to hang on to that podium, which was a career first podium for him. Obviously a phenomenal day for Liam. He was super pumped about it, and you got to believe that'll bolster his confidence just a little bit coming into this weekend, put him in a mindset where he knows that he can do it. Thinking you can do it and knowing you can do it are two different things, and sometimes reality begets results. He got that podium. He's going to keep wanting to taste that more and more often. Ryder Lafferty, on the other hand, has never been on a GNCC XC2 podium. This is a rider that comes from a great GNCC pedigree. His uncle, Mike Lafferty, has won GNCC racing, I don't know exactly how many National Enduro Championships, but many. A phenomenal rider with a very storied and decorated career, riding for Factory KTM for many years. And this is his nephew, Ryder, who has really, throughout the years, has kind of come up as a enduro rider, and a few years ago said, I think I want to go race GNCCs. I want to race more off-road. I want, some more speed in my life, and I want to race against these guys that this is what they do. And he's really been kind of fine-tuning his skills. When we saw him initially come into the XC2 races, we'd see him good speed early, and it seemed he would kind of fade later in the 3-hour races. Obviously, this format dramatically different from any PG. Here we see Thad Duvall still out front and still riding on rails. We'll see what the gap is. It was 1 hour, 35 minutes when he broke out into that open section just after the Monster Mile here. But Ryder Lafferty starting off at the tail end of the top 10, and now, after years of working, is up into battling for an absolute breakthrough performance if he can hang on to that 3rd place position. But again, hot on his heels, Liam Draper, a rider that badly wants to taste that podium champagne.
Most definitely, but I will point out Ryder Lafferty to 26.04 to a 26.13, 1.9 seconds separating the two. Ryder actually just passed Liam Draper leading into the finish line there a few moments ago. So if he can keep that momentum going, he may be in a great position. If I don't know if you just saw that or not.
Rodney, speaking of making passes,
wow.
Josh Strang looks like he's ready to make a pass, and Jordan Ashburn has closed the gap back up.
Wow.
What looked to be about a 15-second gap when we saw him on the field there has closed down to less than 10 seconds that Ashburn is behind. So I don't know what Fred and Joey have put in the fuel tanks and put on the pit boards for those two there in that Monster Energy Babbitts Racing Kawasaki machines, but those guys are on a mission today, and right now they are the hunters, and Caleb Russell is the hunted.
Wow, and you don't see Hunter. You don't see him in that position very often. That's for sure.
Was that Stu Baylor that just went by, or was that Grant Baylor? I couldn't make out. All I saw was the 14 from it. Okay, it was Grant Baylor, because if that was Stu Baylor, we know he's charging. We know he's making up time, but he just made up time in gobs if that was Stu.
Yeah, I think that was Grant out there, but we'll keep an eye out there to make.
There you go. There's Stu. I can tell.
Well, still, even with that, Grant Stu's made up a lot of time in that too, I think.
Yeah, he has, and he's gotten around Lane Michael. So there's a rider that was 5th just a lap ago. So you've got to wonder, is Lane Michael starting to feel the effects of now an hour and 36 minutes into this one? Showed great speed early. Still an awesome return to racing for Lane Michael. Still within the top 10, and still a lot of racing action left to go. We see our spotters here. There is SRM Sean Remington, Shotgun Sean Remington, as you like to call him. And here, Cody Barnes back out and on track in that Fmf Xc3 class. I want to correct myself here, Rodney. I mentioned that Jesse Ansley would gain 30 points. Cody Barnes would lose 30 points. Not the case. It actually works off of class points. So in that Fmf Xc3 class, only 7 riders today, being that I will have to wait and see exactly where Cody Barnes checks in. Last we saw, he was in the 6th place spot. So even at 6th place, he would still earn, that would be 15 points. So Jesse Ansley would actually only make up 15 points, meaning he would only be 2 points ahead.
Wow.
So right now, Cody Barnes racing very much for points. He needs to catch up to Joe Marsh, John McMillan, and try and get up to Jason Liscombe there in the 3rd place spot. But right now, look at this guy.
Wow. Thad Duvall, man, still on mission, man, still on rails, man who looks like he wants to win a race today.
He wants to win, and he is willing to lay it on the line to make it happen today from the looks of things.
Yeah, and and that's the kind of intensity that he's ridden at. Oftentimes, maybe we see him together like that whenever he's chasing down Caleb in situations like this. But I have to say, this has been like a last lap sprint for Thad Duvall since basically the end of lap number 1.
Absolutely. And again, I think it comes back to Thad Duvall's frustration, his, potentially seeing his championship hopes really starting to get a little thin now with a 48-point gap, and he wants to break Caleb Russell's spirit today, and it looks like he's doing just that.
4 seconds separating, I think. Was that Josh Strang that just went by on that Kawasaki? So that was only about 4 seconds that separated.
Jordan Ashburn right there as well, just coming by.
Wow, so things are really tightening up back there for that number 2 position, and this could be a banner day for the Kawasaki boys. Like I say, they're in position to get maybe possibly a 3rd and maybe even a 2nd place position. And with the latter half of this race still to be run, who knows what can happen out there as we're looking like we're wrapping up nearing the completion of another lap of racing anyway.
There we go. Thad Duvall through, and he is checked in. We will wait and see the gap, but I don't need to look at the monitor to know it's more than 17 seconds. I'm going to be shocked if this isn't upwards of 30.
All right, 24:25 lap time that time. I think Thad might have slowed down just 4 or 5 seconds or so. When you look at the grand scheme of things, a 24:34 for Caleb Russell last time around. We'll see where he's at on his lap times and whether he's picking it up.
There he is right there. 2 different lines. Caleb Russell tiptoeing around the inside there. Josh Strang running down to the cushion, getting some traction. Strang looks hungry, and he wants a piece of that 2nd place spot. We see the other green fender in the background there. That's Jordan Ashburn. Caleb Russell has a lot of company right now.
All right, he's checked in. 24:51 lap time for him. 24:45 lap time for Josh Strang. 1.7 seconds separate 2nd and 3rd. There are now 43 seconds between Thad Duvall and Caleb Russell in that 1st and 2nd place position. So, wow, looks like Thad, basically this is his race to, just to maintain at this particular point unless the intensity picks up back there with Russell and Strang. I have to think that it's going to quite a bit, and I have to think that right now Josh Strang, just 1.7 seconds behind Caleb Russell, has to be feeling really strong, really poised, and possibly trying to figure out how he's going to make this pass and beat Caleb Russell for that second-place position today.
Here is our fifth-place rider, the 314. You can see him looking over his shoulder, probably looking for Big Brother. He's heard the news that Big Brother's on the charge, and he's like, oh, no, Grizzly's getting the job done today. I want this top 5. Grant Baylor checked in that fifth-place spot in the Xc2 Pro class. Now look at that. In the background, we do see Lane Michael there, and it looks like Stu Baylor has checked in. There he is. So the next rider in line is his brother. We might get to see the battle.
All right, yeah, that's it. There's 10.4 seconds that separate Grant and Stu Baylor right now. Lane Michael another 3 seconds back in.
Oh, look at this. Thad Duvall stopping. Something is wrong with the 989 machine.
Oh.
He stopped. He's looked down. He's back on the go, but something happened there. Was there a stick lodged in there?
Wow, I don't know. It must have been something happened. Something went a little bit awry, but I tell you what, I was having thoughts of 2 weeks ago, deja vu. I was thinking what a heartbreaker this would be to be out front so far and to have a second mechanical, a second race in a row like that would just be devastating.
In the Monster Mile there, Thad Duvall coming to a stop, looking down at the machine, looking like he might have reached down. Don't know how much time he lost. It didn't look like it was too much, maybe just a few seconds, but he does still have a comfortable lead over. And I'll tell you what, I believe that might be Chad Duvall standing there to the left with a pit board, with the Motion Pro pit board. Hard to see from that camera angle as we see Jordan Ashburn coming by. But if that is, in fact, Chad Duvall standing there to the left, don't know if we can pan up just a little bit to the left there. But if it is, you can only imagine what was going through his mind when Thad came to a stop.
Oh, I'm sure his heart stopped for a moment, just like many race fans across the world viewing this on RacerTV.com and right here at the racetrack this weekend did, just wondering and waiting to see what was going to take place. It was just a split second, but wow, what a gut-wrenching split second it was for race fans watching that one unfold. Right now, as we check the results, it is, again, Duvall, Russell, Strang, 1, 2, and 3, Ashburn in fourth. Ben Kelly is maintaining the fifth-place position overall after time adjustments. Lap time, that time, 25:04. Again, very consistent on the lap time for the fourth consecutive lap here, and it still maintains a solid fifth-place position. He has that by he's about 40 seconds out of fourth right now, so Ashburn has actually pulled 40 seconds ahead of him on adjusted time. Ashburn only 7.8 seconds behind Josh Strang, which puts him just under 10, right behind Caleb Russell also. So with both those Kawasaki boys, with Caleb Russell in sight this late in the race, it's got to be great inspirations for them. I mean, there's so much that can be taken away from this race, win, lose, or draw at this point for those two on the green bikes.
Absolutely, and you know they're both wanting to end up on the podium and possibly get up there and battle for a win. There is Ben Kelly from that Xc2 Pro Lights Class. Looks like he has shaken loose Craig DeLong, at least for now. Ricky Russell there in the Xc1 Pro class, and we do not see Craig DeLong. So Craig DeLong, there he is. Not too big of a gap, but probably about 10 or 12 seconds is the gap.
Yep, 12.2 when they came through the finish line there just a few moments ago.
So that gap opening up just a little bit. Thad Duvall out here just absolutely shredding these fields. Hour and 44 minutes into this one, and this guy is showing no signs of fatigue, no signs of letting up. And, you know, another thing, Thad Duvall may be getting word that Caleb Russell has heat from Josh Strang and from Jordan Ashburn. So Thad Duvall seemingly, obviously losing 5 points to Thad Duvall for Caleb Russell with the 48-point lead wouldn't be the end of the world. Now, if you start going back to Caleb Russell being pressured for that second-place spot, for that third-place spot, potentially being pushed back as things stand right now, one mistake and he would drop to fourth place overall, which would be a very big hit to the points. Yes, he has a 48-point lead, but 5 points between first and second, another 4 between second and third, another 3 points 2 points between third and fourth. So that would end up being a 9 to 11 point gap is what it would be back to Caleb Russell from Thad Duvall if he were to drop back to that fourth place. Just to be clear, right now, still a 5 point gap.
Yep, and we still got a long way to go before we can start counting a lot of points. But one thing that we can start looking at just past this halfway point now is the fact that we got still some strong rides going on by those 250A class riders. And again, Brody Johnson, the number 235 from Landrum, South Carolina, still rounding out the overall top 20 after 3 laps of racing complete, and he's still just behind Jesse Ansley now after this third lap on adjusted time. Ansley in that 19th place position from the Fmf Xc3 125 class. As we look a little further back, 200A class, Dominic Morris, 25th overall right now, the 423. He's a contender for a top 3 overall amateur spot today as well. And Simon Johnson, who is second in the 250A class. Get this, 1 minute and 40 seconds back of Brody Johnson right now. He would be looking like 3rd overall top amateur today and is running 26th overall position. Just goes to show you how fast these guys are, even with the gap that we're seeing in that first and second place position of that 258 class. Those guys are still strong in the overall here on a Sunday at this high voltage GNCC. A couple moments while we got it, let's go ahead and scan through some of these classes, get you some top 5 numbers here from some of the other classes that we haven't had a chance to look at. I know we got some championships that may be in the process of being wrapped up today as well, so we'll watch the monitor. And while we watch the monitor, Johnny, I'm going to watch this computer screen here and pick out what's going on. Levi Keller leading the Open A class over Evan Earl, the 256 out of Blacksburg, South Carolina. A near 2-minute gap between those two. The 521 of Kobe Beckert out of Zanesville, Ohio, running in 3rd. 821 Brady Myers in Walker, West Virginia. And 5th place, the 272 of R.J. Cook from Thompson's Station, Tennessee. And that rounds out your top 5 in the Open A class. And we're getting reports, Johnny, that Caleb Russell got passed by Josh Strang for that 2nd place position. We haven't seen it physically on the camera ourselves, but track crew is sending reports to the TV crew that we've got a change in that 2nd place. And I believe there it is.
There it is right there. Josh Strang in the number 2 spot, Caleb Russell in 3rd. So that is another 4 points as they run. Again, we're not giving out awards at the moment, but Caleb Russell now starting to think, all right, giving up 5 points isn't the end of the world. Giving up 9, I don't want to do that today. He's starting to fight back, and he's wanting to get back around the number 114 of Josh Strang.
Wow, what
Strang on a mission.
Yeah, he is. How inspiring it is for him. And I mean, to be able to take this ride today, even if it was this all-stop right here, and you take what he's been able to muster up today, and you go over the next 9 weeks of this summer break that we got coming, man, you talk about positive things for Josh Strang to be looking forward to, and maybe getting inside the minds of some of these guys up front by doing just what he's doing here today.
Well, not only that, exactly what we talked about before with, him being vocal and understandably, upset about the fact that, with the reschedule, although there was, really nothing anyone could do about it, we had to make up this race. What better way to celebrate, a race you weren't planning on running than with the podium?
Right, exactly. And that'd be, something worthwhile taking home, I think. And, again, getting the wheels turning in the right direction for that last part of the season and really setting us up, I think, for some great barn burner finishes right down to the wires. We look at next the 258 class while you keep an eye on this monitor, Johnny. Brody Johnson and Simon Johnson running 1 and 2. No relation, I don't think, out of Landrum, South Carolina, and Bennington, Vermont. 1 minute and 40 seconds separating those two in the 258 class. Chase Hayes, the 33 from Sumter, South Carolina, in 3rd. Ryder LeBlanc, the 42 out of New Florence, PA, in 4th. And Tyler Braniff out of Terra Alta, West Virginia, rounds out your top 5 in that one. The 200A class, Dominic Morris, who is a contender for a top 3 overall amateur award today out of Newark Valley, New York. A 2-minute and 21-second lead over the number 506 of Logan Kiddick out of Farmington, Minnesota. The 199 Zachary Davidson from Iron Station, North Carolina, is 3rd. And also from Iron Station, North Carolina, Dylan Zimpel, the 929, in 4th. Max Fernandez, the 490 from Ottsville, Pennsylvania, rounds out your top 5 in the 200A class. 4-stroke A lights class, it's the 81 of Tyler Soriano out of Yerkesville, Ohio, with a 1-minute and 48-second lead over the 357 of Johnny Manera from Millville, New Jersey. Tanner Cowart, the 175 from New Salem, Indiana, running in 3rd. 4th place, the 130 of Travis Raynaud from Stafford, Missouri. In the 5th place position, the 403 of Cody Meeks from Gainesville, Ohio. That's your 4-stroke A lights class. Junior AB 25-plus class, David Muchisco, the 362 from New Salem, PA. Only a 9-second lead over Andrew Matusik, the 85 out of Donald, South Carolina. That right there should be a good battle. Another 3 minutes and 13 seconds back to the 46 of Andrew Boggs from Masontown, West Virginia, all with 3 laps incomplete. Joseph McCarty, the 426 of the Mount Clair, is 4th. And the 108 of Matt Bruffy from Weston, West Virginia, rounds out your top 5 in the Junior AB 25-plus class. Bet A 30-plus class, Sam Forrester, the 48 from Elkton, Maryland, a minute 52nd lead over Surly Amancio, the 360 from New Milford, Connecticut, the 801 of Tom Truxell from Verona, PA. Fourth place, the 805 of Matt Modick from Newberry, Ohio, and the 187 of Louis Oleon out of Lancaster, Ohio, rounds out your top 5 in that Bet A 30-plus class. Senior A class, Smiling Frank Messina, the number 50 from Campbell Hall, New York, a minute and 51. I'd be smiling with a lead like that, too, over Jeff Husted, the 402 from Amesville, Ohio. Shotgun Sean Remington, the 51 out of New Salem, Pennsylvania, running in third. Fourth place, the 136 of John Beaver from Grady, Tennessee, and the 352 of Josh Hackett out of Hardland, Connecticut, rounds out your top 5. I'm going to tell you, Johnny, I can't say Sean Remington's name anymore without throwing in shotgun in there.
It's just part of it. It's on his entry sheet. Rodney, real quick, the leaders in that Xc2 Pro class checked in. We did not update that. Ben Kelly still leading. Craig DeLong still second, 12.2 seconds back. 2 minutes and 59 seconds back now is Liam Draper taking back over that third place spot. Mike Wachowski only 2 seconds behind him in fourth. Then another 22 seconds back to Evan Smith. Ryder Lafferty dropping from third all the way back to sixth.
Wow.
On that lap, another 2 seconds behind Evan Smith.
Sounds still pretty tight for that third place position, though, in that class. We'll dissect that a little bit more here in just a few moments. Thanks for that update. Open B class now. Peyton Harden, the 222 from Stamping Ground, Kentucky, only a 30-second lead over Jared Miranda, the 476 out of Gaston, Indiana. The 501 Michael Davis out of Amelia Courthouse, West Virginia, and third. Fourth place position in the 367 Junior Smith from Bellington, West Virginia, and the 912 of Drew Norris out of Black Lick, Ohio. Wonder what Junior would name his son. Junior
Squared.
Junior Squared. There you go. Open B. Now let's go to the 250B. Dylan Gore, the 457 from Chapmanville, West Virginia, leading to the 361 of Justin Brazo out of Canada. 249 Philip Dagnes out of Quebec, Canada, running in third. Austin Hovatter out of Arthurdale, West Virginia, the 214 in fourth. And fifth, the 79 of Kyle Prismont from Westchester, Ohio. A little conferring going on down in the Tealy Energy pits right now as we look at the 200B class. Tanner Collins, the 404, who will secure his national championship in the 200B class after today's ride on the 404 machine out of Crooksville, Ohio. So congratulations to you, Tanner Collins. Max Rust, the 219 out of Iron Station, North Carolina, is second. Third, the 435 of Ezra Judd from Cookeville, Tennessee. Fourth, the 459 of Patrick Murray out of Chester, Virginia. The 417 of Colby Dunham out of Grafton, West Virginia, rounds out the top 5. In the 4-stroke B Lights class, Hunter Cleveland out of Erin, New York. The 408 leading the 411 of Tyler Palmer from Denver, North Carolina by about 51 seconds. Alexander Patterson, the 232 from Cambridge, Ohio, is third. Fourth place, 702 Ethan Schultz from Gray Court, South Carolina. And Bryce Allkire, the 339 from Clarksburg, West Virginia, rounds out the top 5 in the 4-stroke B Lights class. Vet B class, 401 Gary Bissang out of Lexington, Kentucky. There's Thad Duvall's wife, and she's trying to hydrate right now, I think, like the rest of us, just trying to stay cool, calm, and collected, especially while her man is leading this one quite convincingly. Vet B second place, the 430 William O'Brien from Whispering Pines, North Carolina. The 404 Mike Swartz from Windsor, Ohio. Fourth place, the 172 Ross Kennedy from Raleigh, North Carolina. The 911 Josh Webb from Montville, Ohio. Senior B is Igor Soares out of Marlborough, Massachusetts, with the lead over the 744 Mark Horwat from Normalville, Pennsylvania. I think he got the whole shot. 225 Vinny Tomic out of Bethel, Connecticut, taking third. Fourth place, the 994 Scott Matheny from Herkin, West Virginia, and rounding out the top 5, the 131 Gene Swidwa from Sarber, Pennsylvania, there in the Senior B 40-plus class. And that takes us to the end of our amateurs and back up to seeing what's going on in the XC1 and the XC2, as Johnny Gallagher had pointed out there a few moments ago. Ben Kelly leading this one now 12 seconds over Craig DeLong, but Liam Draper had moved into the number 3 position as he and Witkowski, and even Evan Smith a few seconds back in that number 5 spot still looks like doing battle for that final podium position in the XC2 250 class.
Yeah, an absolute torrid battle in that XC2 class, and here we see Jordan Ashburn on screen. That is still our 4th place rider in that XC1 Pro class. We did see Cody Barnes go by, so he has actually gone a lap down. That is the rider that we know is trying to scrape up all the points he can today in that Xc3 Pro-Am class, Fmf Xc3 Pro-Am class, to try and salvage that points lead, coming in here this weekend with a 13-point lead, experiencing some mechanical difficulties, but they were able to get him back on the machine back out on the track, and he is out there right now in point salvation mode. Another thing we saw on screen while we were away there is the riders coming through there were top 4 overall still. Jordan Ashburn in the 4th place spot, 3rd place Caleb Russell in the 3rd place spot, Josh Strang in 2nd, and leading the way is Thad Duvall. Momentary scare for Thad a little bit ago, as here we see Grant Baylor on screen still holding on to that 5th place spot in the XC1 Pro Class, 6th overall after corrected time. But Stu Baylor in hot pursuit, doing all that he can do. And look at that. There is Stu. That gap now down. Last we knew was 10 seconds. It's getting closer and closer. And right, look at that. Taking a tow from Stu Baylor. The number 523 machine of Lane Michael in the 7th place spot in that XC1 Pro Class. And 9th place overall. A solid ride inside the top 10 overall. And 8th in that XC1 Pro Class. For Lane Michael returning from injury. We talked about that a little bit earlier. Lane Michael really having just kind of a heartbreaker of an opener to the season. Injured in a road bike crash just a few weeks before the season. Had to sit out the first couple rounds. Came back, was getting up to speed. Actually had a crash at the Camp Coker GNCC. Rode for a few more weeks. Thought everything was fine, as we see our Xc2 Pro Lights leader, Ben Kelly. Last we knew he had a 12-second lead over Craig DeLong. We'll see if it looks like that gap has stabilized or if he's able to continue to open that up. That is not the number 10 machine. That is Ricky Russell, the 212 machine on that NFAB Ampro Yamaha. Ricky Russell trying to grind out a top 10 here today after a phenomenal ride for him at Snowshoe just 2 weeks ago, landing in the 3rd place spot in that XC1 Pro Class and 4th place overall. Craig DeLong, there he is. That is more than 12 seconds. Craig DeLong losing ground. Still, though, a phenomenal, absolute shocker of a ride today for Craig DeLong so far, and I say that with all due respect. Craig DeLong, obviously very much a championship contender coming into this season, but with the injury he's had, for him to come back at full strength and be battling with Ben Kelly this late in a race really is a statement. His brother Andrew just behind him there. Last we had seen Andrew was sitting in the 9th place in that XC1 Pro Class and 11th place overall. So a solid ride inside the top 10 in that XC1 and 11th overall for Andrew DeLong. Liam Draper should be the rider that we see here coming up soon, but he is a good gap back. He was, last we knew, 2 minutes and let's see, that gap there for Draper is 2 minutes and 59 seconds. So just in all reality, 3 minutes behind the 2nd place rider of Craig DeLong, but still in a podium position is exactly where Draper wants to be. He wants to back up that podium of 2 weeks ago. A first one for him. And once you get one, you just want to get more. Here we see our local AMSOIL dealer looking like he's standing out and starting to pack up a little bit of product. It's been a hot weekend for him, but he's had some people come through there and try out those AMSOIL products, and now he's trying to get cool.
He sold everything. Look at that. He's about sold out.
And back to our shot here just after the VP Fuels Pro Row. The riders have been and gone through here. We're looking back at looks to be I thought that might be Mike Wachowski, but I don't think he's quite that far. Those guys have come through a while ago now, so hard to tell who that was. It looked to be a rider on a beta, and these guys, you know, at this point in the race, 1 hour 59 minutes in, for all intents and purposes, 2 hours into this event, the heat really starting to take its toll. We can see a lot of these riders starting to lose just a little bit of intensity, and we can see the gaps really starting to open up, not only in our XC1 and XC2 classes, but throughout the classes. Here we go, one rider that isn't losing any intensity at all, Thad Duvall, through the Monster Mile, throwing roost, and just with a handful of throttle, he is in and gone. Leading the way as he came through that shot. It was about 1:59.25 as he came through there. So we'll wait and we'll see exactly what the gap back is, and is it still Josh Strang in the number 2 spot, or has Caleb Russell been able to wrestle that spot back away? Is Jordan Ashburn up in the mix? Those 3 guys, all 3 of them, very much in play for that 2nd place position. But Thad Duvall opened up, last we knew, a 45-second gap. They're leading this one, almost 2 hours into this one, just a few seconds shy of, and they are now out at the Monster Mile, meaning we'll see him here in just a matter of a few minutes. Caleb Russell back into the number 2 spot, and it looks like he is about 43 or 44 seconds behind as they came through that section of racetrack. There is Cody Barnes, a lap down in that Fmf Xc3 class. Don't know if we saw Ashburn there. There was another rider in there. It was kind of hard with the shadows to tell if it was a lapped rider or if that was, in fact, Ashburn. that was very close behind Josh Strang. Nope, there is Ashburn. So there is your 4th place overall rider, the 127 Babbitt's Racing Kawasaki of Jordan Ashburn. Just in front of him, a few seconds, well, 15 or so seconds, is Josh Strang, hot on the heels of Caleb Russell. So very much still within the grasp of Jordan Ashburn is a podium position on the day. So that rider charging hard and trying to get up in there and do just that. Put his Monster Energy Babbitt's Kawasaki on the podium today and get a chance to thank those sponsors. 9 races in, you know that team. It's a new team, factory backing, a lot of support, a lot of people behind that program. Those guys very much want to put one of those bikes on the podium, and today they're in a position where it wouldn't be a stretch to think that they could do 2. And if you're going to enter yourself into a GNCC podium, you might as well take your teammate with you. Look at this. Grant Baylor around the outside with a lot of intensity, because I think if we look here, we're going to see in just a few seconds Stu Baylor very close. Looks like maybe Stu lost a little bit of time. There he is. There's big brother. Stu Baylor trying to chase down his brother. And you got to wonder as you watch this battle on screen, as you watch him try and chase him down, how many times over the years on minis, on 252 strokes, on every machine that KTM has ever made, have these two chased each other around the Baylor compound. Lane Michael there, can't say enough about him. Hanging tough in that 9th place overall position, 7th in that Xc2 Pro class, and an absolutely phenomenal ride for him so far today. Coming back from injury, he spent so much time off the bike, so much time not being able to ride, and to be able to come back and battle possibly at a higher level than we've seen in him from a number of years really speaks volume about his confidence, his training, and his program. Here is the leader of the Xc2 Pro Lights class, Ben Kelly, leading the way on that Trail Jesters KTM, the #1 machine. And look at this. We got some lappers, a whole bunch of lappers, and Thad Duvall threads through them like they're not even there. Still doing all that he can do to open up that gap. 22 hours, 2 minutes, 22 seconds as he came to the top of the FMF PowerPoint there. So we'll see what that gap is exactly, and then we'll see it scoring. We'll see the official transponder scoring, but we like to keep track of those gaps throughout to see, is Thad Duvall pulling away? Are Caleb Russell and Josh Strang pushing each other hard enough that they can start chipping away at that, what was last lap, a 43-second gap? We think now it's right around 44, so that gap may have stabilized. If that is in fact the case, that would be the first time since really the 2nd lap that we've seen that gap not continue to grow. It was just a few seconds, then it was 17, and then it jumped all the way up to 43 seconds. Caleb Russell on screen, FMF PowerPoint. So at 40, that'd be 47 seconds, almost 48 seconds is the gap as they came by the top of the PowerPoint there. So, wow, it looks like Thad Duvall able to open up a little bit, about another 5 seconds from last lap if our makeshift timing and scoring that I'm doing myself here using the clock on the coverage as the splits. There is Jordan Ashburn in the 4th place spot, still hanging tough there and definitely within striking distance. Here it is, completion of lap number 5 of 7, so the 2-lap board is out and Thad Duvall puts in another heater. If we look and we refresh timing and scoring here, we'll see exactly what that gap is and also what that lap time was. So here in the XC1 class, Thad Duvall, the only rider so far with 5 laps complete with a 24-minute and 25-second lap time. Thad Duvall put in another burner. Last lap, Caleb Russell, 24 minutes, 51 seconds. Josh Strang, 24 minutes, 45 seconds. So Caleb Russell and Josh Strang, their last lap pace was about 20 seconds off of what Thad Duvall just put in. Looks like they might have picked it up a little bit, but I don't think they've gained time. I think they've continued to lose maybe just a few seconds. They'll be coming through scoring here in just a few minutes, a few seconds, a lap rider in between here, and Josh Strang is fallen off of the back wheel just a few seconds from Caleb Russell. And as we look here, 49 seconds is the gap. So 6 seconds is what Thad Duvall was able to squeak out over Caleb Russell this last lap, taking it from 43 seconds to 49. So even in a torrid battle with Josh Strang, it seems that, Caleb Russell not able to chip away on exactly what it is that Thad Duvall is doing out there to continue to put in these heaters of a lap times. 24 minutes, 25 seconds for Thad Duvall, 24 minutes, 31 seconds for Caleb Russell. Again, 6-second gap there. Josh Strang with a 24:35, and those are the only 3 riders so far. Jordan Ashburn is also checked in, but his lap time is not showing up here. We'll have to get that to refresh and see exactly how far he is behind teammate Josh Strang. We know that those guys. There we see Grant Baylor. He is working his way through the final chicanes, and we'll be checking in just a moment, looking over his shoulder to see if Brother Stu is there. It looks like he has opened up that gap just a little bit. Now we see Thad Duvall back on screen, leading the way with a 49.5-second gap. Another 5 seconds back to the third-place rider. Mason Rader just taking a nice little tumble on his e-bike there. All of his camera equipment still in check. So, folks, you'll get to see those awesome Mason Rader clips that he does for us throughout the weekend, taking a crash right in front of our RacerTV studios. Here at the Monster Mile, we wait and we watch for the number 1 of Caleb Russell. Looks like he may be coming here in just a few moments. 49 seconds was the gap at the finish line just about a mile ago. And still waiting and watching. We see some of our A-class riders coming by here. You can see really starting to the heat and the conditions really starting to take its toll. Caleb Russell opened up a little bit of a gap over Josh Strang. Don't know if it's due to him starting to charge or if Josh Strang is starting to feel the effects. Not that it's an insurmountable gap, maybe no more than 4 or 5 seconds, but those guys have been absolutely wheel to wheel the past couple camera shots that we've seen the last few laps. So they have definitely pulled out over Jordan Ashburn, who's kind of been seesawing off the back there. He was in the battle, then he was out of it, then he was back in it, and now he is about probably, well, at scoring, he was 21 seconds behind teammate Strang. Looks like that gap may be a little bit less now, but I think that may be a result of Strang starting to fall back into the clutches just a little bit of the number 127 of Ashburn. Cody Barnes there as we check in and we take a look to see what the progress is in that Fmf Xc3 Pro-Am class. Barnes, last we knew, was in 6th place, trying to salvage some points. Now he's all the way up to a 4th place position, but 9 minutes and 24 seconds behind the 3rd place rider of Jason Liscombe. So if Cody Barnes wants to get up and score that 21 points that comes along with a 3rd place finish, he needs to make up nearly 9.5 minutes in the next hour of racing. That is a tall order for any rider, but Cody Barnes looks like he may be up to the challenge, putting in a lap time that is over 2 minutes faster than the rider in front of him. And tall in stature as well, Rodney Tomlin points out. Cody Barnes riding that 125 machine. It's a good thing he's thin because he is a big boy, very tall. He's well over 6 foot, I would guess to say, and he kind of dwarfs that. When you see him out there, sometimes it looks like he opted to ride a big wheel 85 on this race weekend. But Jesse Ansley still leading the way in that one. Listen to this one, Rodney. 6 minutes and 54 seconds over Chase Colville, the 2nd place rider. Still, though, hats off to Chase Colville, looking like he may potentially make a podium position run today in that 2nd place spot. Jason Liscombe out of Parkersburg, West Virginia, a minute and 1 second behind Chase Colville. There is Stu Baylor. And as we wait, I'm going to go take a look here at the overall because I got to believe that Grant has opened that back up over Stu. Now we see Stu has fallen back into the clutches of Ben Kelly, just a few bike lengths behind him. When we had seen before, it looked like Stu was on the charge, but now it looks like Grant has opened that back up, and sure enough, as we look, he has, let's see here. Oh, actually, looks like Lane Michael has made his way back around Stu Baylor. Lane Michael now 30 seconds behind Grant Baylor, and in that would be 6th place spot in XC1. There is on screen Thad Duvall. So Lane Michael in the 6th place spot in XC1 and 7th place overall. Stu Baylor dropping back to 7th place in XC1 and 8th overall. Craig DeLong 9th overall, 2nd in that Xc2 Pro-Am class. And here is the news of the lap. It looks like Craig DeLong 54 seconds behind Ben Kelly. After being right on his rear wheel, battling back and forth, just a few seconds behind. Now that gap, 54 seconds. Thad Duvall in the pits. Fuel in the VP Fuels Pro Row. You see his support team. They've got some water on his back. They got him some fresh goggles. They got some fuel in that Rockstar Husky, and he is off and on the throttle. And you know they're telling him, Thad, 49 seconds, but don't rest on your laurels. Get out there, put in some heaters, and keep breaking these boys' spirit today. And it looks like he is doing just that. Back on the throttle, running the outsides, finding some traction out on this high-voltage GNCC racetrack today, and he is just absolutely on rails out there.
Back to the Andrew DeLong thought there just a moment ago. Johnny, you were talking about the gap starting to open up, and we were talking about how intense that battle was. I have to point out, and I have to figure, Again, Andrew getting a late start to the Craig getting a late start to the season. Sorry about that, Andrew and Craig. But basically, we got Caleb Russell in the pits right now. But basically, what I'm thinking, bike fitness at this particular point in the season, the heat also probably having a little bit to do with that as well. Not being bike fit and pushing the way that he was, obviously may have taken a little bit out of the tank. But you cannot take anything away from Craig's ride today and the effort that he is putting forth. I know that those final 4 rounds are going to be very, very interesting when it comes to this Xc2 Pro class.
Absolutely. With 2 laps still to go, I mean, this thing is far from over. Craig DeLong could still very much get up in there and battle for an overall, for an Xc2 win. As we see it, there is Josh Strang. And now Caleb Russell has stretched it out. Looks like the gap to be upwards of 10 seconds. At scoring there, it was 5 seconds, and now Caleb Russell has stretched it out a little bit more. We didn't actually get to see Josh Strang's pit stop, so we don't know if maybe he spent a little bit extra time, possibly took a little extra water, maybe had a conversation with the crew. Who knows exactly what was done there, but he and Jordan Ashburn both in and out of the pits, out with 5 laps complete. They're working on lap number 6. And Rodney, at the end of lap number 6, they're going to see a very welcome sign. And that welcome sign is going to come in the form of Ricky Towery with a beautiful white flag waving. I'll tell you what, even if you're Thad Duvall and he looks like he is just on rails out there, these guys absolutely at this point, 2 hours and 11 minutes into this thing, they are ready for a white flag. This is a hot, hot day and a rough race course.
And you made mention of yesterday. I mean, we saw the rain and there was still some humidity in the air, and there was nothing, I don't think, like as intense. I mean, not saying that it wasn't intense yesterday, but the intensity level seems to be a little higher with the sun beating down on it today, on top of the humidity. Even yesterday, I mean, it's pretty crazy how challenging, I guess, the humidity made the racing for everyone. I can only imagine what it's doing, especially here in this 3rd hour. Those first 2 hours, I mean, most people can stand that first 2 hours. It's the 3rd hour that is the tail of the tape as far as we're concerned. And that's what we always say. You know, we sound like broken records here on RacerTV when we say these things, but hey, that's where we are right now. We're in the true tale of what's about to happen as far as this race is concerned.
And I'll tell you what, one rider that really is kind of going against the grain here and seeming to get stronger as the race goes on is that man right there. Well, the man that came by right before them, Lane Michael. Did not expect this out of Lane. It looked like about 2 laps ago, it looked like maybe he was starting to put that fade on. It looked like he was losing ground. Stu Baylor got around him. Grant Baylor got around him. Ben Kelly got around him. Momentarily, Andrew DeLong, Ricky Russell all got around him, and he was back hanging at the tail end of the top 10 and outside the top 10 in the overall. Now back up in, he's gotten back around Stu Baylor, and he's up into that 6th place spot in that Xc1 Pro class. So Lane Michael definitely, obviously feeling his oats today. Whatever it is that he's been doing the last couple weeks, preparing down there in Florida with Justin Barsha and Aaron Plessinger, looking like it's paying off for him today. And just across the screen there, we saw our leader in that Xc2 Pro-Am class, Ben Kelly. Again, we now know last when they checked in at scoring, 54 seconds was the gap over Craig DeLong.
Well, there's something we haven't seen a lot of. A little dust starting to kick up out there on this racetrack today. So good to see.
What do you mean? It was a dust bowl the first lap yesterday.
Well, that's very true. But how soon and quickly we forget, huh?
Yeah, you know, it was yesterday was definitely a unique experience. That first lap, wasn't expecting dust. Thought there was some good ground or moisture in the ground, and I don't know what it is about this soil, but the first lap it was an absolute brownout. Couldn't see anything in the fields, even in the dust. There was just, or even in the woods, there was just this cloud hanging, and there was really nothing you could do. I mean, you were just trying to fight your way through it and see, and it was a brownout. You were just kind of blinded by it.
And then when the rain did come, you're like, oh, this is a welcome relief. This is exactly what we need. Like,
thought we were going to get that rain shower, and it was going to be like a water truck, and I thought, okay, this is going to last a couple miles. We'll be good to go. We'll stop, get some fresh goggles. It's going to cool us down. And then it was like it just kept raining and raining. And next thing you know, there's water running down the hills at you, and the corners are flooded. Rodney, I honestly can't say that in all my years of racing I've ever experienced anything like that.
Wow, that's crazy. Speaking of years of racing and different obstacles and things that you find yourself in, we got some highlights from what it all started it all. Talking about this right here, we're talking about the Blackwater 100 highlights out there. And, I was just over in the Davis, West Virginia. I drove after we left Snowshoe last couple of weeks ago. I drove to Seneca Rocks. I drove up to the Dolly Sods. I drove all around that area near Davis. Actually, I went and had dinner in Davis, West Virginia, believe it or not, and saw an old Blackwater pinball machine in the restaurant that I was eating at. So rather interesting thing. But this is what that started all of what we're seeing right here. You know, little obstacles like this stretched out amongst a 25-mile course. This is the famed 93 river crossing there in Blackwater. This right here, Johnny, is probably the biggest challenges riders ever faced in their racing careers.
Absolutely. You know, I had the opportunity to go to Blackwater a number of times. Look at this. Here we see a rider just coming into scoring. He's catches a rock, number 67. That may have actually been Bob Sloan. Look at that. These drop-offs were so steep coming into the creeks. Guys were getting back on their machines. You know, they were doing all they could do to not flip over, and the last thing you want to do is fill your air filter with water. You can see how deep the creeks were. You can see just how gnarly the rock gardens, the peat bogs. I mean, here we see, you know, these riders, and it is kind of comical to watch this nowadays because, you know, the machines have come so far, the riders' skill have come so far that a lot of these sections that were seemingly just impossible back then, we ride stuff that is so much more difficult nowadays, but like that there, you would never see a rider at a GNCC do that nowadays. The helmet comes flying off, but you know, this was ATV racing, motorcycle racing in its infancy in the Grand National Cross Country Series. You can tell by the machines this is in the mid to late 80s. There's a nice custom tank on a big quad racer 500. It was a 500cc two-stroke machine, and man, I'll tell you what, the one thing that Blackwater brought us that are still around today, the mud fleas.
Yeah. That's very true. They come out in full force, and I'm sure you had your hand with a few of those yesterday. The great thing about it is there weren't any real deep water holes where a lot of people were getting stuck, so that was one good plus and positive.
Yeah, absolutely. And here you see some riders that really knew how to handle, well, not him, but the guy before him, some riders that were really on top of the Blackwater. Here we see, that might be Timmy Coombs,
I was going to say,
actually.
I think that's Timmy Coombs. This has got to be the 88 Blackwater 100 if Timmy Coombs is riding a wheelie through town like that.
Yep, riding a wheelie and went on to podium or possibly even win that race.
Yeah,
I know he won a few of them.
He won the 88 Blackwater, the one that's the only one that counts, I think, if you're if you're talking to Timmy Coombs out there. But
there he is right there, the number 3 on that CR250 Honda sliding into the barrels, and he says, I just won the Blackwater. Look at that. A young Tim Cotter coming running up, the Castro Rider of the Week, Timmy Coombs, and he likes to remind people he won that event, and well-deserved. I mean, a very, very difficult event, even by today's standards, but the town really embraced it. It was a thing all its own.
It most certainly was, and you know, it's pretty cool. I was talking to Buddy Little earlier, who is one of the original voices of GNCC, working with Tim Cotter back in the day at Blackwater and so forth. He was telling me that one time that he and Timmy Coombs were working at Checkpoint, and they heard a 4-stroke coming up through the woods, and they thought, must have a trail rider out here lost someplace. And he said, but man, that guy's going pretty good. Come to find out, it was Scott Summers in the introduction of that 4-stroke era that came with him. And
that old XR 600.
Yeah.
Great history of GNCC. Scott Summers with all those championships. That rider right there, that was Thad Duvall that just went across our screen. He is in search of a win and still in search of that ever-elusive championship. He has been, you know, so close year after year, and this could potentially be the year. But again, after a devastating blow to him and his points at the Snowshoe GNCC at DNF, they're scoring 0 points on the day. Went from 18 points down to 48. So he just went ahead, put his boots on, got a shovel out, and started digging. And that's what he's done all day today.
Yeah, we used to talk about Morganton, North Carolina being that monkey on Thad Duvall's back. Now I think that we can say that maybe Snowshoe might be the new enemy that he's going to have to tame, I guess you could say, the new beast to tame there, even in his home state, in order to take wins and try to keep himself in position for championships, because the last 2 seasons we saw that happen there at Snowshoe for Thad Duvall, and that's just gut-wrenching and heartbreaking. But the wonderful thing about it this year is he is completely and 100% healthy, and that's a far cry different, I think, than what we were looking at last year at this particular time.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, last year, obviously, him having Snowshoe kind of being his undoing with the wrist injury last year, you know, it really kind of put him in a bad position going into the summer break. He was able to come back and continue to fight a little bit after the break, and then ultimately at the re-injuring that wrist at the Powerline round, he elected to sit out the final round at Ironman last year. But coming into the season healthy, getting stronger as the season went on, and you know, today, I mean, I think this is possibly the strongest and most confident we have ever seen Thad Duvall the way he is riding today.
No doubt about that. And yes, very interesting. And if I remember correct, it wasn't Caleb coming in off of a surgery or something like that, or an injury into the first part of the season. And remarkably, it seems that the competition is really starting as they have really gotten stronger as the season went on. Here at round number 9, the competition, round number 8, we're seeing the competition really even start to step up, even though they are back to 100% health now.
While we wait and watch here for Thad Duvall at the Monster Mile, you know, it is funny, you know, if you think back to round 1, the top 3 riders, second place, Caleb Russell, coming in off of a shoulder surgery, a very, very serious shoulder surgery that he spent a lot of time off the bike. Thad Duvall having that wrist injury. I don't recall if he actually did have surgery, but I know he was in a cast for quite some time after re-injuring that wrist that was already injured towards the end of the season. And then Stu Baylor coming in, winning the opening round after, I don't know what Stu did to his knee, but he tore something up in his knee, and it put him kind of on his back foot, came out swinging, grabbed the win, and that was kind of like Stu's very mercurial. You know, he comes out, he's hot one day, and when I say he's not the next, it's not that Stu's not going fast, it's just how stacked this class is. You know, and today it's kind of been a little mini version of that. You know, we've seen him charging to the front, as we see here, his brother Grant on screen, and he has been trying to chase down Grant now for about 3 or 4 laps, and it seems like all the time he's got him, and then Grant pulls it back out. So, you know, look at that lake in the background. Anybody else want to go for a swim? I'm real hot. Let's go down there and jump in. Sorry, get sidetracked. I'm like, dog, what?
I feel you, man. We're cooking in this tent, right?
We need to take the sides off this thing. I feel like I'm in an oven.
What? Yes, and that the lake does look rather inviting out there. But yeah, you're right. You know, and I think it was neat that, you know, I think one of the points that you were alluding to, or at least one that I picked up on, was the fact that our top 3 in the first round came in not 100% healthy, and they were still the fast guys to beat. And as the season's worn on and they've gotten more healthy, we've seen the rest of the contingents become stronger and faster as well. I honestly have to say, these final 4 rounds might be a little more exciting than what we realize. You know, we recognize and see the names that were up there today, and of course Jordan Ashburn and Josh Strang, seeing them hang on for as tight and as long as what they've held on for, and battling for that final podium position today has been remarkable. And to see those names up there, the Grant Baylors, the Stu Baylors, the Strangs, the Ashburns, and those guys, Lane Michael even, you know, I mean, who knows what's going to happen after the summer break with him. I mean, we have got ourselves the stage set for quite possibly one of the greatest ever season wrap-ups to a GNCC championship. And I don't think anybody can really argue with that. I know Caleb's going to be hard to beat, Thad's going to be hard to beat, but at the same time, I think it's going to be easier, not necessarily easier, but I think opportunities are going to be afforded a little more for these guys that are trying and working so hard right now to catch up.
Well, I think the progression that we're seeing in Stu Baylor, and today him sitting in 7th place in the Xc1 Pro Class, obviously isn't the best example of this, but his consistency, whereas, you know, a few years ago he would win a race and then be outside the top 10 or even top 15 or maybe a DNF. You know, maybe it was issues with his program, his training, his decision-making during the races, whatever it may be. When you bump up to that Xc1 class, it's rare that you see someone that does so. Thad Duvall, there you go. Number 989 machine, hard on the throttle, and wow, he is still charging. I think we're going to see him open this gap up even more, even though Caleb Russell, it seems, has kind of reinvigorated a new sense of urgency, trying to get away from Josh Strang. I still think we're going to see Thad Duvall pulling away. But, you know, what we've seen Thad do in the last number of years, and it started, I guess it's been 4 or 5 years ago now with that KR4 program when, you know, Fred Andrews said, hey, look, I see a lot of potential in you. We think you can be a guy that can not just be the fast guy that everybody's scared of on a certain day. We think you can be the guy that battles for championships. And although I'm sure Thad always had that in his mind, I don't know that was ever a reality. You know, he was hot, he was cold, he would, you know, DNF 4 or 5 races in a season, and, you know, for various reasons, and you know, it wasn't always or even sometimes at all Thad's fault, but it takes a complete program to make that happen. You know, Fred Andrews invested in him. Suddenly he was winning races, and when he wasn't winning, he was still in the top 5. Yeah. He's taken that now with the Factory Rockstar KTM or Factory Rockstar Husky team to the next level, where if he's not winning, he's on the podium, or in most cases second. And that's what we've seen for the last several years, and or last few years now since he's been with that program, and he has been a major thorn in the side of Caleb Russell, and that is a little bit, I think, of what we're seeing with Stu Baylor. Stu obviously though dances to the beat of his own drum, where Thad was kind of the wild child. There we see Caleb Russell right there, the number 1 KTM machine, getting a pit board from his crew there, probably telling him what the gap is in front of him and also what kind of gap he's got on the number 114 machine, and it looks like it's a little bit more significant than it was when we last saw those guys. That is not straying there, but Stu Baylor still very much does things his own way, but we've definitely seen a much greater consistency with him now, sitting in the 3rd place in points, and I think only 11 points behind. Oh, look at this. Is this a new 3rd place rider?
I believe it is. That looked like the 127, yeah.
Jordan Ashburn, unless we missed Josh Strang, which I did not see him come through there, Jordan Ashburn may now be in that 3rd place spot. There is Strang. So Strang in 4th now, Ashburn in 3rd. So the Babbitt's Kawasaki machines battling over that final podium position, and this time it's Jordan Ashburn with the upper hand.
It looks like he might be having some more company coming in pretty quick too. Was that Lane Michael not far back there?
No, that was a lap rider there, but
okay.
That is Grant Baylor, and he is not at all far behind. Here we see Mama to be in, I believe, September, if I'm not mistaken. Chandler Russell looking to pop out. Baby Russell number 2. Crew probably running around there somewhere on his little stability cycle bike. You can see the KTM guys. There's JoJo Bowden, a XC2 rider who's out with injury at the moment. And they can hear we're talking about them. And, that's a lapped rider there. But, yeah, we've got quite the battle going on over that 3rd place spot. And even still not that far off of Caleb in 2nd. Here we see Thad Duvall on screen, FMF PowerPoint, lapping Andrew Matusik.
Wow. Man, I tell you right now, the intensity that Thad is riding at, he has not relinquished anything off that throttle the whole time. I mean, you got to wonder, was the machine designed to run at this level, at this pace for this many hours? I mean, and I'm not taking anything away from anybody. I mean, a lot of times you see a little cat and mouse game going on. There has been no cat or mouse game going on all day long. This has just been amazing.
Yeah, it's absolutely phenomenal exactly what what Thad Duvall is doing. I mean, he's pushing the pace, but he looks under control. I mean, aside from that one little hiccup we saw where, don't know again if there was a stick in the brake pedal or what it was, but he's kind of, just, again, it was they were wheel to wheel for a couple laps, and he pulled out 17 seconds. Then it was 43, then it was 49, and that's where we stand right now, 49.5 seconds. But honestly, Rodney, I'm pretty confident that gap is continuing to grow. Caleb Russell has now opened up a considerable gap over the 3rd place rider, which was Josh Strang. He has now dropped back to 4th place. Jordan Ashburn has gotten around him and put a little bit of a gap on him, but it looked like, I would say Caleb Russell had at least 15 seconds on Jordan Ashburn, if not slightly more, when they came by us there. Thad Duvall already did the finish line. The other guys not even made it to the FMF PowerPoint yet.
Wow, here's that welcome relief that you were talking about just one lap ago and some 24 and a half minutes or so ago as well. And that white flag, and of course Thad Duvall gets a good look at that one. 24 minutes, 28.9 seconds, so call it 24:29 for Thad Duvall as he wraps up lap number 6 of a 7-lap race, so one more lap to go. And look at this.
That was just Caleb Russell now coming by the FMF PowerPoint. This gap is well over a minute.
Well over 49.5 seconds a lap ago at the end of lap number 5 there. So yeah, we're well over a minute at this particular point. So Russell's pretty much solidified, it looks like, that 2nd place position. But look at this. Here comes that 127 of Jordan Ashburn. And he and his teammate, Josh Strang, obviously running in the flip-flop order there for the bigger part of this race out there. But what about it for both Josh and Jordan hanging tight like this all day long? Don't know what happened to Josh, but it certainly looks like that Jordan is picking right up where Josh left off.
Hold on, Rodney. Both those guys better look in their rearview mirror, because here comes Grizzly Grant. He is charging. He was fast through that section, and he has chipped away at that. If we look back the lap before, Grant Baylor was 43 seconds back of Jordan Ashburn. I can tell you right now, it's less than that.
Wow, that's pretty amazing to put that in that perspective. I believe that might have been Lane Michael going through.
No, that was a Coastal Racing Husqvarna, and I got excited thinking it was Craig DeLong, but it wasn't. That was a lapped ride. I think it might have been Ian Flynn possibly on the 422 machine. Caleb Russell now into the finish line chicanes, and he will be seeing. This is a rider that badly wants to see that white flag. Not that he's any more tired than the rest, but Caleb Russell does not like days when he's not winning. Things are not going his way right now. But another lap of racing. What are we at?
1 minute and 44 seconds.
Whew, nearly 2 minutes.
Wow, that was a minute right there that we saw. Lap time 25:23 for Caleb Russell, a 24:28 for Thad Duvall. So basically 57-second faster lap time that time around for Thad Duvall.
There is Josh Strang taking a water bottle. Well, tried to take a water bottle. Missed it there. It was a close one, but he missed the handoff. So Strang in that fourth place ride. Jordan Ashburn in third. And look at this. Grizzly Grant coming across the line. And how far is he behind Strang, Rodney?
15.7 seconds. It was a 43-second gap. He's chipped 30 seconds now off that gap between that fourth and fifth place position as we roll through here. He turned to 24:52. And when you start putting that in perspective, not a bad lap time whenever he was actually faster than Caleb Russell, your second place position on the track right now.
Absolutely shredding. We've seen Grant do this so many times, and you got to wonder if he can make up those couple of seconds, 13 seconds, and get around Strang, that puts him in a position where suddenly he is now chasing down Jordan Ashburn for, a podium position. So what a heartbreaker it would be if he's able to get that done, chip away, and get up there to Ashburn. He could potentially knock both of those Monster Energy Babbitt's Kawasaki's off the podium that those guys are so badly wanting.
Wow.
Here's another rider on the charge, Stu Baylor. He has fallen off the pace of his brother Grant, but he's gotten back around Lane Michael, retaking that sixth place spot?
Yes.
Sixth place in the Xc1 Pro Class and seventh place overall once Ben Kelly does check in on corrected time if Ben Kelly is in fact still there, which we believe he is. Here comes Lane Michael, seventh place in the Xc1 Pro Class and eighth place overall. Oh, did Lane Michael just go down? There's Cody Barnes checking in. And again, if we look and see, we'll go back to that here in a moment once our leaders check in. Cody Barnes, 9 minutes and 45 seconds was what the gap was that he needed to make up to get to that third place spot in the Fmf Xc3 class. Caleb Russell on screen in that second place spot and managing that gap back to the 127 of Jordan Ashburn. And there is Ashburn, so it's not that much of a gap. He definitely needs to keep an eye on the pit boards and keep an eye on that rear view to keep Jordan Ashburn from potentially coming up and snagging away that number 2 spot.
Well, I see that the gap there for Barnes now as we were looking at the Fmf Xc3 125 class there. Cody Barnes in fourth place now, 7 minutes, 27 seconds behind Jason Lipscomb. Looks like lap time. 26:48 to 28:46. It's 2 minutes faster, but I don't think 2 minutes is still enough to make up 7 minutes at this point.
With 7 minutes, he's got a lot of time to play with there. He's going to need to hope for a mechanical from one of those guys in front of him or somebody to really run out of steam. Thad Duvall not running out of steam at all. He's running that cushion. He's found the traction. He's got the sweet spot. He nearly clips that hay bale, but he knows exactly what he's doing. He's got his lines, and I tell you what, he has got this high-voltage GNCC race course dialed.
Well, we were doing time adjustments and figuring Grant Baylor in sixth place overall after Ben Kelly checking in. Scratch that. Ben Kelly is now sixth place overall as Grant Baylor has gained the time necessary to take that overall position as well as time on the racetrack. By the way, Kelly turning a 25:26, still well within what I would consider consistent lap time patterns there. Pretty much since the drop of the green flag out there. Adjusted time, just real quick for you, 2:31:18. So actually, Grant has about 40 seconds now. He gained that 40 seconds on Ben Kelly and starting to put some distance between them. Like we said, the big thing to be watching out for on this lap is will the 314 be able to reel in Josh Strang to 114? If he does and can, then can he get after Jordan Ashburn, the 127 here in the waning moments of this high-voltage GNCC?
And just a few seconds ahead of him is Caleb Russell.
Right.
Not out of the question for Grant Baylor to get up there and battle for, if not take, a second-place overall position from coming from the tail end of the top 10 just a few laps ago.
Amazing. And, again, not far from the realm of possibility. well within it as far as what I consider knowing, especially how strong these guys are, both he and his brother at the end of the race. And Grant has just progressively gotten stronger and more consistent here this season. I've really liked the steadiness that we've seen from the 314 as of late.
You know what I really like, Rodney? This Yamaha live drone. This is pretty cool. To be able to follow Thad Duvall through this entire field section. We cut back and forth between the drone shots and the on-the-ground shots. We just saw Thad spit out his water bottle. He got what he needed out of there, picked up a water bottle presumably on his way through the pits. We didn't see it happen, but we saw it fall out of his lap, meaning he was holding on to it. The riders cut hoses and hang them, stick them between their teeth, suck the water out, and on a day like today, you really can't drink enough water. Thad Duvall taking the time to make sure he keeps himself hydrated. This section, Rodney, you see that kind of muck off to the left there. What's very deceiving about this section is how off-camber it is. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but you could not stand on that hillside. That's how steep off-camber it is.
Wow.
Yesterday when it rained, like that corner right there, you can see all those marks down to the left. That's where riders were sliding to, trying to get their way, to try and get some traction to come back up the hill. Caleb Russell now still not even checked into VP Fuels Pro Row, and Thad Duvall is nearly going in that shot in the background that you see going the other way after completing 2 miles of field sections.
Wow.
So nearly 2 miles behind is Caleb Russell in that second place spot. We'll see what the gap back is to the 127 of Jordan Ashburn. We see that it looks like a Kawasaki team member doing a little bit of jogging there. So there is Ashburn, and man, he's definitely within striking distance.
Ashburn putting the hammer down as well, and some kind of inspiration for him here.
Oh, look at that. Strang back to the rear wheel of Ashburn right there.
Wow.
And look at this. Grant Baylor now within sight of the Kawasaki duo. Grant Baylor can see a podium.
Yes, he most certainly can literally see that podium as they round the turn there now. And you can see as he adjusted his sights going around that corner, you could just see him bearing down on his next 2 targets. It's amazing. It looks like there's a method to the madness, but he looks like a real animal. Just looked up. It was almost bionic in a sense.
Caleb Russell in the second place spot, but I tell you what, that is a tenacious second place spot that he is in. I mean, he has 3 riders behind him. Grizzly Grant being the most of which, who are just on the move. I mean, Grizzly is just, he's like a bear out there.
And he's not going to give up. He's going to keep fighting to the bitter end. There's no doubt about that. The bitter end, you ask how far away? We are about 15 minutes out now from seeing a checker flag.
There's Caleb Russell. Yep, so there is Strang and Ashburn battling over third. Caleb Russell just out of the screen to the right. Grant Baylor now coming up to the back of that battle. So as the Kawasaki teammates battle it out, Strang trying to get back around Ashburn for third. I wonder if they know lurking in the background is the Grizzly. Grant Baylor on the charge. And look at this. Strang to the outside, but Ashburn chops him off, Rodney.
Didn't we see Strang make the pass here a few laps ago?
We're going to see 2 different lines. Oh, Ashburn's line much better through there, but Strang doing anything he can, taking all the different lines. The lapper could very much come into play here. Which way will Ashburn goes to the right. Strang looking like he's going to take. Oh, look at that. The lapper checks up, pushes Strang wide. Strang gives him a look like, hey, bud, there's a race going on, and you're not a part of it.
There's the ice cream stand as we round top of the hill and head back down. Now, this right here is far, far from over. A new life there for Josh Strang, and these 2 teammates going at it is breathing a lot of life into this third-place position, because that should push them up towards Caleb Russell, too.
Yeah, as we're watching this zoomed-in shot, keep in mind that little bit of dust you see hanging in the air. That's Caleb Russell. He is just ahead of this battle, and that is the second-place position. So Caleb Russell going to have to get on his horse and ride it if he wants to hang on to that second-place position, because these 2 battling over third, and Grant Baylor coming like a freight train behind him.
Well, here we roll through some of that off-camber uphill section, winding through the high-voltage GNCC property now, and look at the grip that the 127 of Ashburn seems to get going up that hill and still maintaining that number 3 position. But again, the aggression back there out of that former champ in Josh Strang, not only wanting to beat his teammate at this particular point, but also wanting to get on that podium and get that taste of glory that we mentioned, especially after missing the trip home here in the early part of July, which he had originally planned. And again, it makes the trip a little bittersweet for him, but a whole lot sweeter whenever you can get that podium. Can he get that podium? That's the big question right now.
Yeah, I'm keep watching for an orange rear fender at the bottom of our screen to see if Grant Baylor can inch just a little bit up closer. But I think right now these guys are pushing so hard. Ashburn trying to get away from Strang. Strang trying to get around Ashburn, that they have actually gapped out again a little bit on Grant Baylor. Definitely so. Yeah. They have pulled out considerably. There is Grant there, so they have pulled out quite a bit on Grant. I would say at least 5 seconds in that exchange there through those chicanes. And Grant now going to go back to work in the woods and try and chip back away at it.
And that's one thing I was getting ready to say. I think it's amazing to me the amount of time that you really see. I mean, we see a lot of good flow and a lot of good battles out here in these open field sections. While we don't see them where we normally notice a lot of the time made up is whenever Grant hits those woods. He is like a grizzly bear. He knows those woods like nobody's business, and he can go around and through these trees like nobody else and make up that time in those tight sections.
Rodney, you said the magic words right there. When Grant hits the woods, when he goes through the trees. Grant and Stu are known for just absolutely barreling over trees that would flip a semi-truck. You know, they're big boys. They've got the mass. They hit those things in the center. They take them right to the handguard, and they just mow them down. A lot of other riders will weave. They'll kind of floss their bars through the trees. Stu and Grant, full steam ahead, knock those in. Look at this. We've got a pass for that third place spot. Strang around the outside. Ashburn coming back to the inside. Strang able to make it stick. Takes away the third place spot. But Ashburn does not look like he's done, Rodney.
Wow, that one's not over yet. Josh Strang is his fight for third place is not done, that's for sure. It's half the battle has been won right there, but he's got the other half, and that's maintaining the position. Now, he must obviously feel like he's got the speed to start pulling out if he can get around him. Now the question is, does he have the speed that he thinks he has to keep ahead of Jordan Ashburn?
Well, here they are again. Ashburn trying to work his way back to the inside. Man, this drone shot is just so cool. Strang really now putting Ashburn in his dust. Look at that. These guys are just absolutely shredding these corners, and they are taking completely different lines, trying to stay out of the roost, trying to stay out of each other's lines. And you can see that lapper saying, no, I don't want any part of this. You guys go on by.
So under the cold belt they roll now, and across the roadway as they continue. Look at this. Josh Strang really does seem to have a little bit of momentum on his side right now as he appears to be pulling the 127 up the hill.
Yep, they got quite the battle going on, and it has drawn them a little bit away from Grant Baylor. But Grant is going to get back on that throttle in the woods, drive through those trees, and do everything he can do to try and get up there to battle for that third-place podium spot. We did not see Caleb Russell in those drone shots, but we know he is there somewhere. There, again, is Strang with Ashburn behind him. Strang, the rider in front, Ashburn right behind him. Not much of a gap there, but Ashburn is not glued to the rear of Strang like Strang was Ashburn when he was in front.
The Babbitt Online Kawasaki riders really putting on the show here for the race fans as they battle for that third-place position here.
Rodney, there is Caleb Russell. He's just 2 chicanes ahead of them. That's the rider you see getting ready to, at the far right of your screen, he's making the pass on the inside. So that gives you an idea, the distance and the time from Caleb Russell to Josh Strang. Strang is the third bike you see there in the center, or second bike, sorry, and Ashburn is the third. So, I mean, we're looking at 1,001, 1,002, 1,003, 1,004, 1,005, 1,006, 1,007, 1,008. About 8 seconds back to Josh Strang from Caleb Russell. So very much that place is still up for grabs, that second-place position.
Well, it was nearly 20 seconds separating those riders when they came through the finish line there just a few moments ago for the white flag. So to see that gap cut by more than half right now, pretty interesting in the fact that we may see just exactly what you said the possibility loomed up 3 laps ago, and that was that battle for the second-place position.
You know what else we see as we see Thad Duvall on screen? In that last camera shot, here is Thad Duvall. So we'll talk about some racing for a moment since it's happening on screen. But what else we saw in that last shot? A lake. And I'm hot. I want to go jumping.
Not until after the podium.
It's so hot.
I imagine you'll be joined by a lot of folks down there. This is a hot one. 2 hours and 43 minutes in some of the, well, I'm going to say it, the most intense heat we've seen so far here in 2019. Not that it's completely unbearable, not that it's a dangerous heat or anything like that, only that it is more intense than what we have seen thus far here in 2019. It says, wow, that's no way right. It says 78 degrees.
Lies. There should be a 1 in front of that. It's 178 degrees.
Here it is.
Here from Dillner, Pennsylvania.
Only 84 degrees in in Dillner, Pennsylvania is what it's saying, but
184 degrees.
We're in Dunkard, so it has to add another 20 degrees on top of it. No, a lot of humidity in the air on that one as well. But looking at this right now, 2 hours, 44 minutes into this race, the battles are heating up front. Thad Duval has pretty much got this one lock, stock, and barrel with a near 2-minute lead, but it's Caleb Russell under fire and pressure from Jordan Ashburn and Josh Strang, and Grizzly Grant back there in the number 5 spot, clawing his way up as well. Will we see a change? What will it look like? Stick around. GNCC Live continues right after this.
Consistent clutch feel is vital to effective starts or to confidently maneuver around obstacles on the trail. AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil was subjected to an extreme simulated start test. After 32 simulated race starts, AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil continued to deliver consistent clutch feel, and the clutch plates remained clean with no visible wear. The competitor's oil, however, allowed discoloration and significant wear after just 16 starts. AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil. Give your bike the protection it needs.
This week in Yamaha history. At the 2011 Rock Run GNCC, the field was poised for a great and fierce battle. North Carolina's Brian Cook had gotten off to the early lead, but a young champion by the name of Chris Borch, along with Adam McGill, Bill Balance, Chris Bithell, and more, were waging war as the young Xc2 Pro-Am prodigy Yamaha's Walker Fowler was in hot pursuit and aiming to claim his first ever overall victory. In the end, Walker Fowler bested the boys from the GNCC from back on row 2 and marked win number 1 of now over 50 overall wins, each one while riding aboard a Yamaha. And that's this week in Yamaha history. This RacerTV broadcast is brought to you by AMSOIL, the first in synthetics. Specialized Turbo e-bikes, it's you, only faster. And by Rocky Mountain ATV MC. Get ready. And welcome back to GNCC Live in Dunkard, Pennsylvania for the VP Fuels High Voltage GNCC. Check out that trophy there, Johnny Gallagher. That is a, well, you see the lightning strikes coming out of that. That's high voltage, and that actually lights up. That trophy lights up, so it's a pretty cool looking trophy for the winner, the overall winners here today.
Well, that really is a shocker.
There we go. Caleb Russell getting his hands dirty leading into this event, actually putting up a few arrows. He was helping with the Pee-wee race that we have on Saturday night, getting that all set up for the little kids. So our salute out to the defending champ and current second place rider on the racetrack right now, Caleb Russell. As we pick the action back up here, 2 hours, 49 minutes into this race. We are about 3 minutes out from a checker flag, and Thad Duvall taking an overall win here on the Pennsylvania-West Virginia state line.
And there is Jesse Ansley, the leader in that Fmf Xc3 class. And last we knew he had about 7 minutes is what the lead was, and I have a feeling that may have gone up even considerably more since then. The story in that class today has been obviously Jesse Ansley leading the way, 2 newcomers on the podium, and then Cody Barnes with some mechanical issues, setting himself back quite a bit, but salvaging some points in that 4th place spot, trying to claw after that 3rd place spot with 7 minutes left to make up.
And I know Chase Colville, this may be his second visit to the podium. We saw him, I believe it was at X Factor, and then after X Factor injured a shoulder or a collarbone, if I'm not mistaken. So he's back on the mend and back on the charge, so it's looking like he's working back up to where he was just before injury.
Very cool. Always good to see new faces on the podium. And here we see, this is our finish line section. I don't think we've got Thad Duvall quite here just yet. We should see him. We still should see him at the Monster Mile and the FMF Power Points before we see him pop through the chicanes here and come to the finish.
Just taking a look at this finish line, this is what we're faced with. Yesterday, if you were watching this, like you said, Johnny, talking about how slick conditions were with riders having to come down. I mean, just making those turns was a chore and a task in and of itself, let alone staying on the racetrack. I mean, just trying to get around those turns and stay on the racetrack at the same time.
Yeah, there was virtually no grip at all in those corners. I mean, if you touched the gas, the back end would come around. If you dared touch the brakes, you'd start accelerating. Really had to just kind of pick your line, coast through it, ease on the throttle, ease on the brakes when you did need to slow down or speed up, and it was quite the treacherous. I remember when I was pedaling it on Friday thinking, well, at least this is dry, because if this was wet, it'd be really difficult, and then it rained. Here we are at the FMF Power Point. Looks like there is Chad Duvall down there in the Rockstar Husky garb, and there is his rider and his son, Thad Duvall, on his way, marching away with this one. 1 minute and 44 seconds at the completion of 43 seconds at the completion of lap number 6, and now he's just less than a half mile away from the finish line at the 9.5 mile mark. He can see the finish line in sight virtually when he pops out of the woods at the top of that hill.
Some 2 minutes behind him would be second place position, and one that is tightening up with Jordan Ashburn and Josh String laying chase to Caleb Russell right now. But the big news is the 989 and his redemption ride here today after, basically seeing his hopes of a championship slip away at Snowshoe GNCC just 2 weeks ago. It may not be the total satisfaction that he's looking for, but it is certainly a great way to head into that summer break to be able to put a great explanation and not only a win, but a win of over 2 minutes on your toughest competition.
Well, I think, like you said, it's a statement win. It's basically a formality at this point. We can actually hear him in the fields coming to the finish, but I hope we can get back to this camera shot at the 9.5 mile marker. And when we do, what we're going to see is there are 3 lines coming up that hill. And I'll tell you what, Rodney, with 3 riders battling over, actually 4 riders technically battling over that second place spot.
And here he is. Bad Thad Duvall finding his way through the final few turns here in Dunkard, Pennsylvania, as he takes the big win here at the High Voltage GNCC and puts that explanation point on it heading into the big summer break. Thad Duvall wins here at High Voltage. Wow, what a big win for him. Like we said, again, it's not the championship point breaker that he's looking for, but it is most certainly a great opportunity for him to put that idea and the fact that he is here, he is still going to be a force, and he is still going to be a threat. So Thad Duvall now getting congratulations and a far cry different feeling here today than what it was on Snowshoe Mountain just 2 weeks ago when we saw that Thad Duvall broke down somewhere out on the course and seemed to take seemed like forever to get him in at the end of that race day. But nonetheless, he made it in. And, of course, he utilized that time to fuel it for this particular race day and quite possibly the rest of the 2019 season. Johnny Gallagher on his way down to talk with Thad Duvall here in just a few moments, and we wait for that second-place battle. As we said, some 2 minutes is what we were expecting to see between the gap, first and second-place position. And talk about explanation points. I mean, a win is one thing, but a win at this magnitude right here is certainly one that is going to be something to think about for all the competitors. Thad Duvall, the confidence boost, and obviously Caleb Russell. It's going to be working on his mind, wondering what Thad Duvall has up his sleeve for those final 4 rounds. And knowing that he's still has a pretty good handle on the championship, it's, I'm sure, going to be a big weight to bear over the summer, but not so big a weight for Thad Duvall. He's got momentum on his side. It looks like as here comes that number 1 machine. It is Caleb Russell getting ready to check in for that number 2 position. The Kawasaki rider's not able to bridge that gap and make that challenge. 2 minutes, 11 seconds, and Caleb Russell takes second place in the number 3 spot, just 4 seconds behind Caleb Russell. The freight train, Josh Strang, the 114, checking in third place overall position today with a 127. His teammate on that Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki just 2.6 seconds behind him in the 4th place position. So yes, you heard me correctly. It is 4 seconds between second and third and only another 2 seconds back to 4th place. Caleb Russell found himself in a bit of a battle as we came down to the wire here at the High Voltage GNCC. As we said, Johnny Gallagher making his way down to talk to our top finishers here today. There's Grant Baylor checking in. A valiant ride by the Grizzly Bear himself today, really closing up and bridging some big gaps and well within striking distance, it seemed like, heading into this final lap, but losing a little bit of time, dropping back to a 39, nearly 40-second gap between 4th and 5th place position. But looking at the big picture today, a lot of major gains for a lot of different riders as we head into this summer break. Got to take away some great positives for Jordan Ashburn, as always. A good, solid ride for him as he was vying for that top 3, even top 2 overall positions as they came down to the wire there. So good things for him to build off of on the summer break. As we said, same thing for Josh Strang and Grant Baylor. Just really got to tip our hat to that ride as he put forth a stellar performance once again here today. Well, folks, I'll tell you, that's our top 5 that have checked in with us so far in just under 3 hours. So we'll be back in just a few moments. We're going to get our post-race interviews and find out how the rest of these classes are breaking down here at the High Voltage GNCC. We'll be right back.
Consistent clutch fuel is vital to effective starts or to confidently maneuver around obstacles on the trail. AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil was subjected to an extreme simulated start test. After 32 simulated race starts, AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil continued to deliver consistent clutch feel, and the clutch plates remained clean with no visible wear. The competitor's oil, however, allowed discoloration and significant wear after just 16 starts. AMSOIL synthetic dirt bike oil. Give your bike the protection it needs.
All-new Yamaha Wolverine X2. With a compact chassis perfect for exploring tight technical terrain. An ultra-quiet and smooth 850 class twin-cylinder engine. And next-level versatility with a 600-pound dumping cargo bed. No other side-by-side delivers this level of proven off-road performance. The all-new Wolverine X2 from Yamaha.
Even when you're the best, you never stop striving to be better. The all-new from the ground up 2019 Yamaha Yz250f is available at LoJack Cycle Sales, alongside the all-new Yz65 and Yz85, and refined Yz450f. So stop by LoJack Cycle Sales today in Tarentum, Pennsylvania, and visit our online inventory at www.lojacks.com. Yamaha YZs. It's why we ride.
And welcome back to GNCC Live. Rodney Tomlin along with Johnny Gallagher here from the High Voltage GNCC in Dunkirk, Pennsylvania. Hello. Of course, wrapping things up there just mere moments ago. As wow, what a very impressive win by Thad Duvall, and a great battle that turned out for that second, third, fourth place positions, and fifth place even, as we rolled to the finish here on that final lap. But an amazing day here as we get set for the long summer break. And I know some hard-fought, well-deserved rides today. And like we said, a lot to be thinking about, a lot of positives for a lot of riders as we head into the long summer break after this one. Duvall getting the win, Russell in second, Strang in third, Ashburn fourth, and Grant Baylor rounding out the top five. Ben Kelly does hold on for the sixth place overall position today. Stu Baylor will check in seventh with Lane Michael. Stellar ride by him today in the eighth place position. Ricky Russell ninth, and Craig DeLong finishing up second in the Xc2 250 Pro class. Will round out your top 10 overall unofficially on those Rocky Mountain ATVMC.com leaderboard results here at the immediate conclusion of the race right now. So as you can see, the power station back there in the background that gives this place its name, the High Voltage GNCC. Let's head on down to the winner's circle now, where Johnny Gallagher stands by with Thad Duvall.
All right, thanks, Rodney. We're here with our race winner, Thad Duvall. Thad, what a race for you today, man. I have to imagine, I'm not going to speak for you, but that was a performance. Some of that had to come from frustration. That had to come from a place of trying to make a statement. But we're going to let you tell us about it in your words.
Yeah, it was a good day. I felt good all day. I was just, the first lap, I was like, man, I'm winning today. I just felt really good. I felt confident. My bike was working good. And, just a lot of frustration after snowshoe. I feel like the championship might be over now. Caleb's so consistent. Now it's just try to win races and lead as many laps as I can and learn for next year. So, just busted my butt the last 2 weeks. Changed some stuff on the bike, and man, it was super good. And just I had an awesome race, and then like 3 laps to go, I clipped the pole in the middle of the woods. I don't even know where it came from, and thought I ripped my radiator off. And I'm like, man, if I didn't have 2 races in a row, and I knew that if it was going to be this race, it was going to be my fault. But, luckily it made it to the end. And, stellar performance. I feel really good. And, wish we could keep racing now. So, got some determination. It's going to be a good summer. I'm going to keep racing. I'm going to go out west and race some works races and try to find some speed. And just keep working hard and come back and try to win more races.
Well, for us, that one today, it was a wheel-to-wheel battle between you and Caleb, and there was a few others poking their noses in there early in the race, and then you were able to open up that 17-second gap. Was there any thoughts of managing a gap, or was today just a pin it and go as hard as you can for 3 hours kind of day?
Yeah, just pin it and go for 3 hours. We kind of sit down and made a game plan for the last 5 races, and just, go as hard as I can for 3 hours. If I get tired and get past, I get tired and get past. Just, I want to go out and learn how to lead races as good as Caleb and manage the races, and I feel like today I did a good job at it.
Well, I'll tell you what, folks, Thad Duvall making a huge statement today. He really ran off with this one, coming in with a phenomenal big lead at the end of this one, making it look easy. It wasn't easy, it was hot, but he sure made it look that way. Back to you, Rodney.
All righty, thanks a lot. I think we got a lethal weapon in Thad Duvall right now. With that mindset, go out, go as fast and as hard as you can for as long as you can, and try to win races. With a combination like that, knowing that he can run at those speeds in these conditions and this heat today, man, makes one wonder what those final 4 rounds of racing are going to be like for the rest of the field here in the XC1 Pro class as far as this GNCC Racing Nation is concerned. One rider that I'm sure is going to be stepping up to the plate and taking a few swings at some wins himself, that second place ride of Caleb Russell. You know, we talk about how big a win it was and stuff today, but we're not sure really what the mindset of Caleb Russell is going into this one until we have that opportunity to speak with him. So we'll get a word in with Caleb coming up here in just a few moments, and we'll also be talking with Josh Strang, the freight train, really putting it together, keeping it on rails today, and certainly bringing home things and making this race very exciting. I think he is standing by with Johnny Gallagher right now as we'll get a word in with our second and third place position finishers coming up here with Johnny Gallagher down at the winner's circle, the specialized victory lane, if you will, here at this VP Fuels High Voltage GNCC, a race that was not originally on the schedule, a venue that was originally not on the schedule, but due to having to reschedule the race from the canceled race at round number 1 for the Big Buck GNCC. This was the open date. This was the open facility, and this is where it came to. And, of course, a great grassroots kind of race facility we've got here, one that I think will up some pretty interesting racing if we have the luxury of being able to come back to Warren Lilly's place and try this high voltage property out again in the future. It's certainly, in my mind's eye, could be a long-standing tradition coming up on this GNCC tour for sure. Well, it looks like we're getting close to ready down there. Johnny, whenever you're ready, we can talk with our third place finisher, it looks like there. All right, there we see Fred Andrews going down talking with Josh Strang, giving him a big handshake and congratulating him for a job well done today. Of course, putting all his efforts at, top of on the box, on the podium, and that's where Fred wants to see the team. He feels like he's right there with him whenever that happens, and to see both his team riders battling for that final podium position, and actually final 2 podium positions down to the wire like that. Got to be a great feather in the cap for him and his program heading into the break as well. Looking at some of these other classes real quick, we've been keeping close eyes on several different things throughout the course of the day. Still no change to our top 10. Kelly Adesket 6th overall and 10th overall. As far as third place in the class, got to tip our hat to Liam Draper, who finished up in the number 3 spot of the Xc2 250 Pro class. So we'll be seeing him over on the specialized podium here shortly. But right now, here at our winner's circle for the RacerTV.com, let's check in with Johnny Gallagher, who I believe is with the freight train.
All right, guys, we're here with our third place overall finisher. Welcome back to the podium, Josh Strang. Welcome to the podium for the first time to the Monster Energy Babbitt's Kawasaki team. How about it, Josh? You really worked for this one today, and what a ride it was.
Yeah, man, it's been a long time to be on the podium, and it's pumped to get up here for the new Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki team. It's been a while. What are we, around 9, I think, and it's frustrating. I feel like I ride like this during the week, and finally today I put it together and felt like I rode really good. So, and it was hot. The track was fairly easy today, I would say, so maybe a little bit of help on my side there keeping up, but I felt good in the woods. So I caught up to Caleb there, I don't know, 3rd or 4th lap, and he was a little bit off today, I think, and so for me it was good. I kept up and followed some of his lines, and then second last lap, wrapped up in some barbed wire. I had to stop and pull it out, and had to put on a charge to catch back up to Jordan there towards the end and finally get 3rd.
Well, you charged all the way back. You were able to wrestle that 3rd spot away from your teammate there, Jordan Ashburn. How about the fact, and this is by an outsider's perspective, Snowshoe had to be a massive disappointment to you, not a good weekend for you. Did that build you up for this weekend? Obviously, You'd been a little bit vocal about, the way this particular reschedule didn't work out for you. You had some plans to go back to Australia, spend some time with family. What are your feelings now after this one's complete, coming back from an off weekend 2 weeks ago at Snowshoe? Does this make it all worth it to put this machine up on the podium, even though you had to give up so much personally to do it?
Yeah, it does. It was unfortunate I couldn't get to go home to Australia, but I get paid to race, so and this is what it is. So I could complain about it, but it's not going to get me anywhere. And I felt like I rode good today, so I felt like it made up for it. And Mum and Dad will be pumped, so that's good.
I'm sure the folks at home in Australia are cheering. The Aussie today put it up on the podium. Coming back, it's been a while away for him and a first time for the new team. We're going to try and catch up with our second-place finisher when we come back.
All righty. Congratulations, Josh Strang, on a stellar performance, and also to the fourth-place ride there, Jordan Ashburn also. Both those riders putting in great rides. And again, I got to go back to that fifth-place rider, Grant Baylor. I got to keep congratulating him as well. But also, Caleb Russell, don't want to take anything away from the second-place position that, of course, we see him in today. I know that probably a little bit of a frustrating ride for him, not necessarily where he wanted to be, but obviously not in a position that is going to take a lot away from what the big picture and the big goal of 2019 is, and that is, of course, winning another national championship, and he is still well within that realm of being able to make that happen. Let's head back down to the winner's circle with Johnny Gallagher and now Caleb Russell.
All right, folks, here we are. Caleb Russell, second place overall on the day, coming out of this one now with a 43-point lead in the championship standings. Tell us a little bit about this high-voltage GNCC from your perspective.
It seems like every time we come to PA, I just get my butt whooped. But it's a tricky track. got all that rain yesterday, so it softened everything up. And when they tilled it up, there's like pockets of moist dirt where it was good traction, and there was slick. So I just fighting my bike a little bit all day. Just didn't really feel comfortable. Kind of went the wrong direction before the race, and Thad was on top of it. He was riding really good. I made one mistake, and he got by, and then the very first lap we even got to just kind of like ghost rode his bike right into me, and I lost Thad, and that was that. He just kind of inched away from me from there on out, and I just little mistakes here and there, and I just had to settle down. I was like, there's no way I'm going to catch him now on like the third lap. I couldn't get in the groove, and I just felt just struggling a little bit, but you'll have that then. I'm just happy to stay on the podium and get a second place finish. It was tough today. The heat, the track was deceiving. It was just tricky. There's tons of little roots that would catch you off guard. And like I said, I was just fighting my bike a little bit, so I was just hitting roots and not super comfortable, and you'll have that. I'm managing my bad races really well this year, so, a couple years ago I would have thrown it away trying to catch up and riding over my head and been back in the pack even further, but I'm happy with that. I just kind of settled for second, which I don't like doing, but like I said, he was riding really good, and I just knew I just needed to stay where I was and be content and just finish it off. It was brutal, really hot, and but the team did a great job, and getting water on my back, try to cool me down and keep my core down to a somewhat reasonable temperature. But I just got to give it up to the whole team for helping me out all weekend. Thank you.
Well, a good weekend for you all in all to come away with the second place. Obviously not what you came here looking for, but you mentioned managing races on your bad day. Obviously knowing the points gap coming in, when you settled into that pace, were you a bit of a surprise to see Jordan Ashburn, Josh Strang, and at some point, I don't know if you knew he was there or not, but coming into the last lap, Grant Baylor was only about 10 seconds behind those guys, and they were only about 5 seconds behind you. So at one point, you had 3 riders hunting you. Were you aware that was happening, and did it change what you were doing, or did you just stick to your plan that last lap?
I had no idea they were behind me. I didn't know where they were, so I knew Josh was back there, and that's about it. So I've never seen him.
Well, there you go, folks. Caleb Russell managing a bad race today, ending up with second place and coming out of here with a 43-point lead, heading into round number 10 after the break.
What a great interview there with Caleb Russell. Really getting in the mind's eye, I think, a little bit of what his mindset he was coming into this one, and basically take it away from this one. He's just glad to get out of it. It's a hot one. Thad DeBall had a great race today, and great battles behind Caleb Russell as well with Josh Strang and Jordan Ashburn, and like we said, Grant Baylor. Congratulations to Josh Strang and the Babbitt's Online Monster Energy Kawasaki team for their first podium of 2019. And of course, what a great ride for them. As we take a look at the situation for the Xc2 250 Pro Class real quick, letting you know Ben Kelly, Craig DeLong, Liam Draper going 1, 2, and 3 in that one. And your Fmf Xc3 125 Pro-Am looks like it's going to be Jesse Ansley, Chase Colville, and Jason Lipscomb taking the top 3 in that class. Well, that's going to do it. We got the long summer break coming up as far as GNCC is concerned. And don't forget also one other thing. We also have the Loretta Lynn's Amateur National Motocross Championship coming up here in just a couple weeks, so you're going to want to stay tuned for that on RacerTV.com. But we also have Ben Kelly, who put together a stellar ride today on his factory KTM, standing by with Johnny Gallagher down in the winner's circle.
All right, folks, your Xc2 winner today, Ben Kelly, no stranger to this position, 9 in a row, Ben. Well, actually, technically, we go back to last season, it's more than that. But in 2019, 9 in a row, 9 wins. But today might be the hardest fought one yet. You had some serious pressure in the form of that number 10 machine. Craig DeLong, you had a rearview mirror full for much of the race today. Getting off to a so-so start, you were able to get to the front. But how did it feel to have somebody rubbing at that rear tire?
Yeah, it was a good race. I got a decent start and was able to catch Craig there in the beginning, but it took me a while to get around him, and yeah, once I did, he stuck right with me. It was a battle for the majority of the race. You know, it felt like I was out there last year battling Josh, you know, wire to wire, and yeah, he was riding really good and intense, and yeah, this heat today was insane. It was just for sure the hardest race of the year. Even though it was the easiest track, you know, with all the fields, you have to be so aggressive and on your marks. It was so physical, and yeah, I just really had to work for this one, and it feels good to get another win.
So win number 9 on the season, I don't know if anybody told you it, but on lap 1, you, Craig DeLong, and Mike Wachowski were 1, 2, and 3 overall. So that really is a testament to the pace you guys are pushing early. Is there any thoughts about what you can do to keep that intensity, to possibly get that overall win? Or right now, or especially on a day like today, are we just gunning to try and cap off those Xc2 victories?
Main goal is definitely Xc2, but I try my best to be up in the overall and on that overall podium. And yeah, coming into the finish, I could see all the Xc1 guys and knew we were right there. And yeah, it was just Craig was pushing me, so I just, you know, kept the pace up, and it's just that's where we ended up going. But yeah, it was hot, so I kind of tried to mellow the pace down a bit and be able to finish strong. And yeah, the Xc1 boys just pulled away. But yeah, overall it was a good race.
Well, congratulations on another Xc1 victory. Still in that perfect season. We're not going to talk about it yet. We promise not to make a big deal out of it until we're going into Ironman. But another Xc2 victory for Ben Kelly today. And we'll get a word from Jesse Ansley, our Xc3 victor, when we come back.
All righty. Thanks a lot, Johnny. And, of course, congratulations again in order there to Ben Kelly on another stellar ride performance. Also tipping our hat to Craig DeLong for that second-place position and the effort he put forth. And another solid ride by Liam Draper in that class. Mike Wachowski will take fourth-place position in the Xc250 Pro class. Rounding out the top 5 then would be Evan Smith, who landed the podium, if I'm not mistaken, there at Snowshoe a couple of weeks ago. 6th place, the 722 of Zach Hayes. Jonathan Johnson taking 7th. Ben Parsons in 8th. Philip Cheney in 9th, and Austin Lee rounding out your top 10 as far as the Xc2 250 Pro class is concerned. The Fmf Xc3 125 Pro class, Jesse Ansley taking the win in that one, and he's standing by with Johnny Gallagher.
All right, here we are. Jesse Ansley, our Xc3, Fmf Xc3 Pro-Am winner today. Jesse, you know, you were very vocal about your displeasure for how you rode at Snowshoe. You felt you let your team and yourself and everybody else down with that second-place finish. Today you came back, and you kind of stamped an exclamation point on this one. Why don't you tell us a little about how it went?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, anyone that knows me knows when I get second, I'm pissed, whether it's by 1 second or 2 minutes. So I've been getting second a while now, and I've been on a hiatus, that's for sure. So to get this one, it really means a lot. I got a good start and just pushed as hard as I could the first couple laps, and ended up going down the first lap pretty hard, but regrouped quick, and then yeah, I just kept charging. I think we did 8 laps, so I was honestly having a blast out there. I got a good flow, and my Trail Jesters KTM 125 was working absolutely perfect. It's definitely one of the faster 125s I've ever raced or ridden before, so yeah, it's awesome to get a win. We've been really putting in hard work, and it's nice to finally go home happy.
Well, the win today and a little bit of a shake-up in the points is last we knew Cody Barnes was back in the 4th place spot on that last lap after a mechanical partways through the race, able to come back up to 4th, we believe, and salvage some points. So that kind of reinvigorates some life into this championship points battle. You guys are going to be pretty tight going into the break. So what's the plan through the break, and are we going to see a all-out duel through those last 4 races after the break between you and Cody?
Yeah, definitely. It's going to be a good rivalry, and yeah, Cody's a good guy. So, you know, no bad blood there. We just we both want to win super bad, and yeah, it's unfortunate the problems he had today, but yeah, I wish he had no problems. That way I could really say I beat him straight up. But yeah, I don't know what the points look like. It's definitely coming down to the last 4 races for sure. Summer break, we just put our head down and make sure we don't relax too much. You know, I'm gonna take a week vacation and then right back at it. So I've been feeling good. My training's been good. My trainer Charlie Mullins has really got me dialed in, and he's got me out of the slump that I was in. And yeah, like I said, I couldn't feel any better.
Perfect. Well, there you go. There's your Xc3 Pro-Am class winner, Jesse Ansley, and we're heading into summer break, and the championship battle is just getting heated up in this class.
No doubt about it. Thanks a lot, Johnny Gallagher. Congratulations again to Jesse Ansley on the win in the Fmf Xc3 125 Pro-Am class. And that brings us to the end, my friends, at least for the summer, until we'll see you again in September as far as GNCC Live is concerned. Like we said a few moments ago, don't forget to keep checking back with RacerTV.com. We're going to be live the last week of July and the first week of August for the AMA Amateur National Motocross Championship. So it's going to be a lot of fun and a lot of great things. Also, some upcoming broadcasts on RacerTV.com. We've got, obviously, the 14th GNCC X Factor on NBC Sports Network. That's next Saturday. The 25th will be the John Penton on NBC Sports Network. And July 29th through August 3rd, as we said, Loretta Lynn's live right here on RacerTV.com from Hurricane Mills, West Virginia. Like we said, it's going to wrap it up. We're going on vacation as far as GNCC is concerned for a couple of months, and on behalf of all of us here at RacerTV.com, Johnny Gallagher, myself, Rodney Tomlin, have a great day and a great summer, everybody.